It has been called the world's greatest race course. Others say it is simply the most hallowed ground in all of American motorsports. Either way, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is a 2.5-mile rectangle of asphalt that is steeped in history and tradition. We welcome you to our live ESPN coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series pole qualifying from here at the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We have a huge weekend of motorsports coming your way from two different venues here in the city of Indianapolis. Of course, coming up next, NASCAR Nationwide Series final practice across town at O'Reilly Raceway Park. Back here for Cup Series final practice. We call it happy hour, 2 o'clock Eastern time. Nationwide Series qualifying back across town at 4:30. And, of course, racing action from there at 7:30 tonight for the NASCAR Nationwide Series cars. And, of course, tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern time, beginning with NASCAR Countdown, the 15th running of the Allstate 400 at the Brickyard. If you just manage to qualify and can compete here, you will become a part of history. But if you somehow manage to win it and kiss the bricks, your legend is secure. 47 cars are lined up and ready. The qualifying order ticking across the top of your screen. Now, some of these drivers who are set to qualify are going to be busier today than others. With more, here's Jamie Little.
Well, Doc, 7 drivers will be attempting the double duty today, racing at both the nationwide race over at ORP Raceway. And then we, of course, have those drivers coming back over here for the Sprint Cup Series. Now, perhaps the most challenged drivers in today's field, David Reagan and Clint Boyer back here. They were off 5th and 6th, respectively. Now, what their day looks like, well, it started this morning about 9 a.m. Eastern, practice over at ORP. Then they shuttled back over here on a helicopter. It's about a 15-minute ride. They landed right here in the infield. Now they have to concentrate on qualifying, go back over for more practice. There's basically 2 cup practices, 2 nationwide practices, qualifying for both, and then tonight nationwide race. And so their day will end about 10 p.m. So what a long day it is. But right now, Clint Boyer, his sights are set on qualifying here today. Mike Massaro?
Well, Jamie, to win the pole here at Indianapolis, a driver needs to be absolutely perfect. A lot easier said than done, especially when you look at this unique rectangular shape of this racetrack. 4 sets of turns instead of 2. In other words, twice as many opportunities for a driver to make a mistake. That said, the pressure falls squarely on the shoulders of the team to give him a very precise setup. Now, there was no testing session here, so all the gains had to be made during practice. Looking at the speeds during happy hour, Jimmy Johnson is at the top of the chart, but the happy hour dark horse might be Elliott Sadler. He turned just 1 lap, and Shannon Spake, that's a pretty good indication that he's real happy with his race car.
Well, Mike, if you take a walk all the way down pit road, you're going to find the drivers who are going to have to wait a while before they go out and qualify because they pulled late draws. Now, in some cases, a late qualifying draw could, in fact, help a team, but not here today. And that's because when these drivers go out, it's going to be right about the hottest part of the day, about 11:30, 12 o'clock. Now, for Matt Kenseth, who qualifies 35th here today, he said that drivers who go out later can sometimes be a half-second slower than those who go out first. But there is one small glimpse of hope, and that's the fact that there is some cloud coverage over this track right now. And if weather does move in, these drivers who started the day with a disadvantage could, in fact, have an advantage. Doc?
Who are some of the favorites to qualify on the pole? If you take a look at the final practice session yesterday, no surprise, 2 former winners, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon at the top of the charts. How about the 3 Dodges there? Ryan Newman, Casey, Elliott Sadler, maybe the dark horse. He was a pole sitter here in 2005. Patrick Carpentier making his first start here in a stock car at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We welcome you inside our pit studio overlooking the Pagoda Plaza just beyond Victory Lane, along with former Brickyard 400 winners Andy Petrie and Dale Jarrett. I'm Jerry Punch. Glad to have you with us. And guys, it doesn't take a brain surgeon or an ER doctor to figure out that if you're the fastest car, you're normally going to sit on the pole. But at this place, the luck of the draw does play a major role. DJ, how really does that work?
Yeah, yesterday they had a draw, and it's basically a blind draw, and you're at the mercy of the luck coming out. And the guys that get the opportunity that drew a good number early on, here are going to be the ones that have an advantage. This racetrack is probably the most temperature-sensitive track these guys will go on. Starting at 10 o'clock in the morning, it's only going to get hotter as this session progresses, so the guys going early are going to have a huge advantage. Our first three were in the top 12 from practice yesterday. Greg Biffle goes out first, Ryan Newman and Casey Kane. You could look for our pole sitter to possibly be out of those first three.
Andy, as a crew chief, if you do get a bad draw, for example, and you're going to go later in the day, how do you compensate in terms of setup for having to qualify when it's quite a bit warmer than others?
When that sun hits the racetrack, it's going to get slicker and slower, and these guys can compensate a little bit for the balance of the race car, but they're not going to be able to compensate for the speed of the racetrack, and that's going to be the big thing. If that sun burns off this little bit of cloud cover we've got, and it looks like it is, it's going to be tough for those guys that are going late to have a real shot at this pole.
Folks, you may want to make a note of these temperatures, track temperatures, where it will fluctuate very quickly. You heard Dale Jarrett say it is the most temperature-sensitive racetrack on the circuit. We begin today with the track temperatures. You see the air temperature and, of course, the qualifying temperature. Qualifying coming up next. Not only are the cars fast, the days seem to fly by when you visit the legendary Brickyard.
To go there and just know that the history of the facility and what it's meant to auto racing in general in the United States is something that it's just kind of like a hollow ground.
It's pretty impressive to see how many names and how many legends in racing from not only IndyCar racing but stock car racing, Formula One have competed.
To grow up as a kid watching the Indy 500, all the greats, A.J. Foyt and Johnny Rutherford, Al Unser, Rick Mears, and then, to get the opportunity to race there was extremely special.
It's exciting for me to be able to race on the same track that many, 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 heroes of mine have raced on.
Aside from the prestige and being a part of history, this is why it is so important to be a part of this event this weekend. Last year's champions purse $488,000 and change. To start this race and finish 43rd last year, paid $145,647. And folks, this year's purse, $9.6 million. Now, Jamie Little talked about some of the drivers doing double duty. Let's talk to one of them.
Well, Doc, certainly a lot of money on the line if you're doing double duty like Clint Boyer. What is scheduled today? 4 practice sessions total, 2 qualifying sessions, and a race tonight. So, Clint, I figure you'll be finished around 10 o'clock tonight. How is this for you as a driver, especially because you have to helicopter back and forth all day?
Well, the helicopter makes things easier, but, just got to thank the logistics, everybody helping out there and making sure we're where we're supposed to be on time and everything. But been over and practiced the nationwide car, a little bit loose, so give them time to work on that, come over and qualify, and hop back over there on a helicopter and see what we got over there. But got a good draw over here in the Cup car with the Jack Daniels Chevrolet, and looking forward to it. Hopefully we can catch a cloud here and put in a good lap.
So rolling out first today, you think that's going to help you guys, or do you think it's going to be pretty much even if it stays overcast?
Yeah, typically you want to go out early here. This is pretty unique going out when we qualify early here at Indianapolis, but looking forward to this early draw for sure.
Awesome. And Clint Boyer rolls off 6. We have a car on the track, Doc.
Thank you, Jamie. Greg Biffle will be the first car to go out on the racetrack, and by the luck of the draw, DJ, as you said, he will be the first of 47, although I guess he told some of you guys in the garage this morning he would prefer to be, second or third?
Well, that would probably be the ultimate if you had your choice, just to let another car get out there and get going. But you can see him really working the steering wheel there, getting a little bit of heat in those tires, Andy.
Yeah, I got to think that some of that is a mental thing, Dale, because they keep this racetrack so clean, and that first draw, the track's never going to really be in any better shape. So I think the first guy going out has got a good advantage. He's going to have a good racetrack and put up a good lap.
Greg Biffle, a 2-time pole winner this year in NASCAR Sprint Cup competition, will come down and take the green flag. And although most of these drivers, although you are allowed 2 laps in NASCAR procedure, many of them will not take the full 2.
No, yeah, I think, Andy, they're going to have tape on there for probably 1 lap. It takes a little over 50 seconds to run this lap or somewhere around that. And getting up to speed, that's a lot of time. And the more tape you can put on there, the faster you're going to go down the straightaway.
If I'm going to have a shot at the pole, I'm going to put as much tape on that thing as it'll take for 1 lap. Now, some of these guys may leave a little opening and try to run 2 just in case they don't feel all that great about their car, and if they make a mistake the first lap, maybe they can get something on the second. But if you're a pole contender, you're going to have that baby taped up as much as you can.
Greg Biffle was 21st in the first practice session on Friday. In the final session, he was up to 12th. running a best lap of 50.488 seconds. See if he can improve on that here in the cool morning temperatures at Indianapolis, and indeed he does.
Yeah, good lap. And you can tell his car was really working well. You can see it was hung out just a little bit in the center of these corners. That's what you want the car to be turning really good. So I'm sure that Greg's going to be pretty happy with that.
Let's check in with Shannon.
Yeah, guys, the 88 of Dale Jr. down here, they're working on the car. They had some issues getting out of tech, a rear camber issue, and you can see those guys under the car right now working on that rear camber. They've also got a bucket of ice and water, so as soon as they heat that camber, the rods up, they then can cool them down so they can get Dale Jr. out onto the track. So just a little activity down here working on the 88 car.
It's awful hard to adjust camber in the rear. It's real easy in the front. You've got shims, but to adjust the camber in the rear, you got to heat that axle up and make it bend, actually, to change it.
Is that not something that they would have checked yesterday going through inspection and everything? I mean, what would make that change?
Well, NASCAR, they will allow you to check it. You can check it yourself. I don't think that in the primary inspection that they really are enforcing it. So they may have been pushing it just a little bit.
Ryan Newman on the racetrack. And how about the only drivers to win the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year? Well, it was 10 years apart. Our own Dale Jarrett did it in 1996. Also, by the way, won the Coke 600 that year. And Jimmy Johnson did it in 2006. Here is the Rocket Man, Ryan Newman, looking to give Roger Penske his first pole ever here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in a stock car.
Yeah, and you think about somebody that has a chance to win the pole, it'd be Ryan Newman. Now, I know his season hasn't been what they were looking for, and certainly just announcing that he won't be there past this year, you'd think, well, doesn't have a chance. As we can see on the tracker, though, he's got a really good lap going. But this man can get it done when it comes time to qualify. He was fast in practice yesterday. You had to know that when he saw that he drew the second spot to go out, that he was licking his chops to get out here and get going.
Roy McCauley there in the blue shirt. There's some of the guys there looking on, watching as Ryan Newman out to qualify. Look at the back of the car, how you talk about the camber, how the back of the car looks like it's stepping out a little bit, even on the straightaway.
Yeah, wow, this is a great lap, 49.73.
Yeah.
He's showing he's going to be the man to beat right now.
Yeah, and that wasn't our camera angle that was showing that car, making it look like that. That's what these guys are doing to maximize side forces and down forces through the corners. Doesn't hurt them down the straightaway, they found out, as far as drag, but it really helps them go through the corners.
They say this racetrack reminds a lot of people of Pocono because of the long straightaways and tight turns, and that's got to be a pretty good omen for this guy here, Casey Kane. Back on June 8, Casey Kane took his Dodge and made the pass late in the race on Brian Vickers. Great effort there in turn 3, and Casey Kane would take win number 2 in 2008 at Pocono. And if you compare Casey Kane's last 2 seasons, what a difference a year makes. 2 wins already in 2008, 9 top 10 finishes, had only 8 top 10s the entire 2007 season. Guys in the garage here this morning, a lot of people pointing to this guy as the possible pole sitter here today.
Yeah, this is the newest generation car from Gillette Evernham. They really think that they have a good shot at not only sitting on the pole, but winning the race this weekend. I know Casey and Elliott Sadler are really excited about the prospects for them. These guys have worked extremely hard to really maximize these cars, downforce-wise, getting more lead, learning as much as they can about these cars, and they really feel good about their chances.
Yeah, Ryan Newman's going to see probably the biggest challenge to his fast lap right here. You see Casey's right there, almost mirroring his lap, just a couple of hundredths faster. He gets off this corner really good. He might have a shot at him.
Lap tracker comparing him to Newman, and now he goes below Newman's speed. He's got to hustle to the flag, and he couldn't quite. He had it for 3/4 of the lap, and it just got away from him coming out of turn 4.
Yeah, I think that what that's going to show us is that for these people that are going to challenge Ryan Newman, they're going to have to get off of turn 4 really fast and get through there as good as they can, because that's where Ryan Newman looked like he really laid down his lap.
Casey Kane will take just the 1 lap. It was good enough to be second quickest, not quite good enough for the pole. More qualifying in just a moment. Dave Blaney completing his qualifying run, 4th of the 4 cars that have gone thus far. 51.73 for the Bill Davis on Toyota. Take a look at a very busy and exciting motorsports calendar here for the weekend. Of course, coming up next, NASCAR Nationwide Series practice at O'Reilly Raceway Park. How about some IndyCar action? The Rexall Edmonton Indy at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. Bob Jenkins will have the call. NHRA Fram Autolite Nationals qualifying tonight at 6 o'clock. And, of course, NASCAR Nationwide Series at O'Reilly Raceway Park tonight, 7:30 Eastern Time. Marty Reed and company will be there. NASCAR Now tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And then at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Alan Bestwick, Brad Daugherty, and the entire crew will be on board for NASCAR Countdown and our live coverage of the 15th running of the Allstate 400 at the Brickyard. David Reagan out for his qualifying run as we visit back in the garage area with Shannon.
Well, here with your Daytona 500 winner, Ryan Newman, currently your provisional pole sitter. How'd you feel about that lap? You think it can stick?
I told him it was a good, solid lap over the radio, which it was. Everything felt really good. I just, hopefully it's enough speed to Alltel Dodge. Third yesterday in practice, and we got a good draw today, so that it all looks good. Casey was a little closer to us today than he was yesterday in practice, but we'll see where we end up.
Now, this has been a very big week for announcements. Just wondering where you stand currently for your future plans. Are you close to deciding where you're going to be next year?
I'm close, yeah.
All right, he's close. That's all we're going to get from Ryan Newman right now. Guys, no place like home for Ryan Newman. Indiana is his home state.
Boy from South Bend, Shannon, and a lot of speculation that he will be the other driver for Tony Stewart and the Stewart-Haas Motorsports team for 2009. We'll wait for that announcement hopefully in the near future. David Reagan, 4th overall at 50.261 seconds. Jamie Little is caught up with Kurt Busch.
And we're talking here, he's getting ready to roll out for qualifying. So your teammate on the pole right now, provisional pole sitter, what does that mean for you?
Well, I knew he would have a good lap. His car showed strength yesterday in practice, and I'm happy for him. With all the things he's going through with his moving out of this team and looking for another team, it's great to see him focus and give Penske what it needs right now. And for us, we hope we have a good run with the Miller Lite Dodge. Car's been a little tight. Based off his lap, we freed up our car, so we're going to let her hang out.
All right, Kurt Busch will wait and watch how he does. But guys, Roger Penske's the man in Indy. He's won here 14 times with Indy cars, but never in the Brickyard.
That might just change this week. Remember, he had never won the Daytona 500 until this past February. Well, 12 of the 14 races have been won here by NASCAR Sprint Cup champions. Here are the champions that have not won here yet. Terry Labonte, Matt Kenseth, and the man we just talked to, Kurt Busch, driving for the legendary Roger Penske. One driver we spoke with earlier, the 07 on the racetrack, Clint Boyer, the points leader for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. He is 13th here in the NASCAR Sprint Cup, just outside the cutoff for the chase.
These guys really struggled yesterday with the car. They, in the first practice, were not happy at all. The car was so loose he couldn't drive it. They can't. Oh, and he's loose right there too. That's going to hurt that lap right there. But they made a lot of changes and actually made some ground on the car.
Yeah, you can see it's really hurting his backstretch speed there. You heard him say he got loose, and that's the worst thing. This is one of the hardest laps that drivers will have all year long. This is such a unique track. You hear us keep saying that, but it is so different with the 4 distinct corners. You want to make sure that you get into these corners hard, but you have to be extremely careful not to get the car loose, because if you do, just like Clint did there, entering turn 2, it killed his backstretch. He's loose again. You can see he's really fighting this race car.
He was completely out of the groove getting off that corner right there. That's going to kill this lap. He may have to take a second. Well, I guess we're thinking alike.
Yeah, you can hear he's asking.
And the time
he's still real loose.
Yeah.
He almost crashed right there. He might have to give it up.
And Gil Martin sort of looking mystified. And there's the man who owns the car, Richard Childress.
Yeah, we watched it on TV.
And what they were watching was what you saw, how he had a handful of steering wheel.
Yeah, Clint's probably ready to tell him that what you were watching wasn't anything but what I was seeing from inside that car.
Yeah, that's at about, 170 miles an hour coming off those corners. That'll get your attention.
Yeah, and this is just, again, a difficult place. And when you want your car to turn, but there's such a fine line of making your car turn, but yet being able to really hustle the car around. So you have to be really careful. If you're loose, this is a very, very difficult lap. As we see Juan Pablo Montoya on the track now for his lap.
Juan Pablo qualified on the outside front row a year ago and finished second, but that's nothing compared to the memory he had here back in 2000 when he came here as a rookie driving for Chip Ganassi. And folks, he won the Indianapolis 500 as a rookie driver. Took the sip of milk and celebrated, and would like to become the first driver to win the Indy 500 and the Brickyard 400.
Came close last year, finished second. We got a different car here this year, though, and the Ganassi guys just haven't quite got the handle on this thing.
Yeah, we talked about doubles, about winning the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400. There wouldn't be a double in my mind like having an Indy 500 trophy and a Brickyard 400 trophy. That's pretty special there.
So you're going to try the Indy 500?
No, I'm good. I'm okay with mine. I'm good there.
That'd be like winning Wimbledon and the Masters. They're almost two different sports.
That's right.
Brian Patty, the crew chief there, watching, and I talked to Brian in the garage yesterday. They said they were trying some things that you would even try on some of the road courses to get this car to turn for Juan Pablo here.
That was a solid lap right there, 50.08. That should hold up to be pretty good.
Juan Pablo Montoya, fourth of the 7 cars that have gone. Still other cars to go. Last year's pole sitter, Reed Sorensen, when we come back in a moment. Last year's pole sitter, Reed Sorensen, on the track. He made history a year ago, becoming the youngest driver to sit on the pole in 72 years. Rex Mays did it at age 22 back in 1935. Reed Sorensen did it a year ago at the age of 21.
Whoa, I believe he might have got that wall just a little bit right there, Dale.
Yeah, that's you're carrying a lot of speed right there. You're wanting the car not to turn the wheel any more than you have to, but you can see it's really hurt the straightaway speed there going down the backstretch.
Donnie Wingo, veteran crew chief, looking on. And they were 28th on the practice grid yesterday, and they were very disappointed when I walked by in the garage area in the afternoon.
Yeah, I think he's going to be disappointed with this as he gets close to the wall once again. He's really struggling off of those fast corners coming off of 2 and 4, getting to the long straightaways.
He does pick up his speed from yesterday.
50.511 puts him 6th, and they will take just the 1 lap. I guess you can't hold your breath more than that.
He was driving the wheels off of this thing right there.
Wasn't very good off of
Oh.
You can hear him say he wasn't very good off of 2, and I think that if we would have heard the end of that conversation, he's going to say it wasn't very good off of 4 either. But he did a great job in controlling the car and getting. I wouldn't have guessed that his speed was going to be that fast. So a really good job. I know they're going to be disappointed, but I think that he'll be okay with that.
Last year's winner, Tony Stewart, comes down to qualifying the number 20 car. You know, if you grow up in the state of Indiana as a native Hoosier, you have one dream, and that's to win at this racetrack in Indianapolis. And in 2005, that dream came true for Tony Stewart.
Tony Stewart, a native Hoosier, his dream comes true.
The Indianapolis Motor Speedway to me is like the holy grail in racing, and always has been, always will be. I mean, there'll be nothing that'll ever take its place, but to finally win at the Brickyard and finally accomplish a dream of just winning a race there was everything to me. I mean, it's been the biggest race of my career.
So much emotion for Tony Stewart. He won it in 2005 and then won it again last year with a just dominant performance in this car. Of course, this is a Toyota now. It was a Chevy the previous 2 times he won.
Yeah, he wasn't very good in either practice yesterday as far as getting up any speed, so I know that he was glad to have this early draw to help him out, and we see he's got a pretty decent lap going.
He's got a great lap going compared to his practice times yesterday. None of the Gibbs cars were as good as we expected them to be in practice, but when they put the money on the line, these guys seem to rise up to it.
He clocks in 5th overall of the 9 cars that are going out to qualify, and he will slow down. Well, the question is, why weren't the Gibbs car that good? They've been so good almost everywhere they've been. Neither he nor Kyle Busch or Denny Hamlin were very good in practice.
Well, this is a very unique racetrack, Doc, and a lot of things don't carry over here that you learn and get good at other racetracks. So this is just its own special animal, and sometimes it's just, you may not be good here.
Yeah, and I think part of it, too, is I think they used a lot of the first session yesterday to work on race-type setups, just to get a feel for the cars and see what they could do. And then there wasn't a lot of time to get ready for qualifying. And if you're off, then it's really hard to make that up because you're only running 1 lap at a time.
Tony Stewart slowing down. Let's update what's going on with Earnhardt Jr. Mike?
And, Doc, it's already been a pretty eventful morning for Dale Earnhardt Jr. This is the third time he's had to go through inspection. They're looking at the left rear camber. I was told, though, it does look pretty good. They're also weighing the race car. So he's finally getting his approval sticker heading out on the racetrack. But, you know, I spoke with Tony Eury Jr., his crew chief, moments ago, and he kind of laughed at the whole situation. He said that's the least of our worries. Our biggest concern is keeping our driver off the apron. They've really been working with Dale Jr. on his line around this racetrack. Let's go to Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Mike. Folks, when you go through that inspection lane, it doesn't matter if it's the right rear or the left rear. You can't exceed 1.9 degrees of camber. Right now, we've got 1.8 degrees of camber in the right rear wheel here, but the same thing in the left rear. But what we're trying to do, as they go through that inspection process, what they would do is take a cutting torch, a rosebud, and literally heat it red hot. And what they do, they hit it with cold rags and water and try to get some of the camber out of that thing. That's the only way they're going to get through the inspection lane. Andy, you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, Tim, that's something we found a lot years ago, that just not only does camber help in the front wheels, it definitely helps in the rear wheels for rear grip, and you always try to put everything on the limit. It's just hard to adjust it on the rear. If you got too much, you got to get that torch out.
And that is why that you see the car look like it's crabbing down the straightaway with the rear of the car cocked out a little bit, like you see the back of the #1 car there for Martin Truex.
That's actually not camber. That when you see those cars yawed like that, that is actual steer. They are steering the wheels, both rear wheels, towards the wall. There's also a camber effect, and that's actually a toe effect that you see.
Well, the toes on Martin Truex Jr. got stepped on at Daytona when they put his crew chief and car chief on suspension, and they've got Mike Ricci filling in. Tough road to hoe, 8th overall of the 10 cars that have gone out to take times thus far.
Yeah, I think we're going to start seeing temperature become a factor here now. And we always thought that somewhere between 10 and 15 cars, after that, then it started to be a disadvantage to your draw. And so you're seeing the sunshine on the track's heating up some. So these guys that are going now are really going to have to lay down a good lap. We see where we started, where practice was yesterday, where it started, and now we've already gone up over 10 degrees on track temp. That air temp maybe only went up 2 degrees, but they're not concerned about that. It's what's happening to that racetrack. That just means less grip for these guys.
That's a big difference. That 10 degrees, that's almost shocking. That's going to kill a lot of the speed in the cars. And we're just now seeing that cloud cover getting burnt off.
Here is a driver who really needs the sun to shine on him and this team this year, but not right now. He doesn't want the sun out in the heat up. David Rudiman in the 44. Still hard to believe that's not Dale Jarrett in the car, but it is David Rudiman in the car. And while we watch his qualifying run, let's check in with Jamie.
Well, Doc, there's 2 Indianapolis 500 winners in the field today. Sam Hornish Jr., of course, making his first start in his stock car here. So what do you think, Sam? A little bit different?
It's going to be a lot different, even from yesterday. The cars don't do anything the same around here, so it was a big thing for me just to try to get as many laps in as I could, and not used to having a break here in all 4 corners and all that good stuff. So it's been an eye-opening experience for sure.
Yesterday you had to spin out in practice. What happened there?
The first lap I drove it in too deep. I thought I'm just going to back it up a little bit, and when I did, for whatever reason, it just made the car get really loose going in the corner. So I had to find a happy medium between those 2 places. And the #1 Dodge, we didn't get a chance to come here and test. We not anywhere you can go and test to be like this. So and the flat tracks haven't been our specialty so far this year. So we're working on it. We feel like we're getting a little bit better every session. So hopefully by the time that the race comes, we'll have a good top 20 car.
Certainly a lot of adjustments for the 2006 Indianapolis 500 winner, Sam Hornish Jr. Shannon?
Well, Jamie here with Tony Stewart. You guys certainly found some speed here in qualifying today from practice yesterday. How do you think that this car is going to be in the race tomorrow? Can you defend your win here at Indy?
I hope so. It looks like we're I don't know where we're going to end up. We're probably going to be mid-pack, I would say, to start this thing, but it's a long race, and if we can keep it driving good, that's the main thing here. So yesterday in race trim, we had some decent speed, so just struggled a little bit in qualifying trim with the Home Depot car.
Now, a big announcement, obviously, this week for you. Everything's out in the open. How does it feel to just get on the track, especially here at Indianapolis, a place that's so important to you?
Well, it's a big week all around. I mean, obviously, being able to tell everybody what number we were going to be with A.J. Foyt's number 14, and to let everybody know that Office Depot and Old Spice are going to be on the car. It was a huge place, obviously, to do that announcement, and having all of our family and friends here, and we had our family there during the announcement yesterday, so all that was very worthwhile and gratifying to have all them there for a special day for us.
All right, well, good luck to you this weekend, Tony. Duck?
Thanks, Shannon. If you'd like to ask Tony Stewart a question, you could do it. Why don't you log on to ESPN.com, keyword Ask the Driver. He is our in-race reporter. Maybe your question will be selected, and Dale Jarrett will ask him your question and one of our questions as they roll down on the pace lap on Sunday shortly after 1 o'clock. We have one Penske car on the pole. Here's another one. This is Kurt Busch in the 2 car.
Got a great lap going right here, especially with the track temp being 10 degrees hotter.
His teammate had a huge advantage as far as time to go out, and this looks like a really good lap so far for Kurt Busch.
Third quick. Gets it down in the 49s, 49.90.
Yeah, that's a great lap, I think. So it just shows that Penske came here ready to go. He's heard that stat, too, about he had won one of these races, and they're going to try to do something about that.
Got to believe a little competition among the Penske drivers to be the first one to give the captain his first pole here in a stock car. Michael McDowell completing his qualifying lap, 10th of the 13 cars that have gone out thus far. 13 of 47 have taken time. We invite you to join us Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Live coverage beginning with NASCAR countdown of the 15th running of the Allstate 400 at the Brickyard. Could Jeff Gordon make it 5 wins? He's won 4 times here. Tony Stewart's won 2 of the last 3. How about Kyle Busch leads all drivers with 7 wins in 2008, but has never won here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We invite you to join us 1 o'clock Eastern Time Sunday right here on ESPN. Robbie Gordon, next car to go out to qualify, the 7 car. Of course, Robbie in a Dodge.
Yeah, Robbie's had a lot of success here in Indy cars, trying to win the Indy 500, but not as much in the stock cars. And looks like he's struggling with this lap.
I got to think that this is 2 different racetracks in a stock car or an Indy car, because they have to back off the throttle with these things, and they can run those Indy cars just flat out on the mat, wide open all the way around. That's got to be almost like a totally different racetrack for these guys.
Robbie 10 times he ran the Indianapolis 500, 5 top 10 finishes in that race. Still trying to get a good top 5 here. His best finish 6th in the Brickyard 400. Speaking of Gordons, Jeff Gordon, top performer at the Brickyard, 14 career starts. How about those numbers, guys? 3 poles, 4 wins, 11 top 10s, and look at the laps that he leads all drivers in those categories. Jamie?
And it looks like that trend could continue after looking at the practice times yesterday. Jeff Gordon, 3rd and 2nd on the speed charts. Dale Earnhardt Jr. told me he has tremendous horsepower here all of a sudden. Does that carry over to all you guys on Hendrick?
Yeah, and we've all been commenting that the horsepower seems to be really good, and based on the times we saw yesterday, that certainly seems to be the case. So we're very happy with the engine room at Hendrick Motorsports right now, and real proud of this DuPont Chevrolet team. They came here well prepared, and yesterday was a good day, and we just hope we can back it up again here when it really counts, qualifying.
All right, Jeff Gordon looking for his first win of 2008. Doc?
Just joined our coverage, Jamie. Thank you. You people might realize he was the fastest car in the final session yesterday. Here is Carl Edwards, the reigning NASCAR Nationwide Series champion. One of the 7 drivers will be doing double duty here and over at O'Reilly Raceway Park with the NASCAR Nationwide Series race tonight.
Carl was in the top 10 in final practice yesterday, or the practice we had just before qualifying, 50.39. He's losing a little bit of time to Ryan Newman's pole speed.
He's keeping it pretty flat there. And you see he got off turn 3 really good to the short chute. This will be the telltale sign of what he has.
He's actually coming back. This looks like a pretty good lap. At least the second half of this lap looks really good.
Yeah, he got through 3 and 4 extremely well, and that carried him down the straightaway. 4th fastest.
Yeah,
really good lap.
Another guy in the 49-second bracket.
Andy is a crew chief. I know he's. Do you see that lap and tell him stay in it and try to get a little more out of it, or are you too concerned here about running 2 laps with regard to the tape and temperature?
Yeah, 9 times out of 10 you've got too much tape to even try that second lap, and you kind of leave that up to the driver. He's the only one that knows if he got all there was, and if maybe he could get some in the second lap.
So 4th overall, Carl Edwards of the 15 cars that have gone out to take time. Let's check in with Mike.
And catching up with Martin Truex Jr., what did you think of your lap?
It was decent. We picked up from yesterday, which was good. We haven't been really fast since we got here. Yesterday, we struggled a little bit, and I didn't have a lot of confidence in the car this morning. It was probably better than that lap. If I could do it over again, I'd go faster. But you know, it's you run too hard, you lose a lot more than you do if you're a little conservative. So I was a little conservative today, and looking forward to working on race trim this afternoon.
Dealing with a bit of a curveball, what's it like working with an interim crew chief, Mike Ricci, this weekend?
So far, it's gone well. You know, we haven't really had any huge problems. The guys on the crew, Travis and all the guys, have really stepped up and gotten their jobs done, and you know, with preparing the car on time and having everything right. So far it's went well. We've been a little bit off on speed, but I think that'll change this afternoon when we get out there and run more than one lap at a time.
Well, Doc, something that might ease the transition with Mike Ricci, the fact that these guys worked together back in the Camping World East Series back in 2002.
Mike Ricci, a very capable crew chief, and they're hoping to get this car up to speed, make it comfortable for Martin to be able to drive. A pretty good lap here for the 26 car for Jamie McMurray.
Yeah, really got through turns 1 and 2 and carried him down the backstretch. Lost a little bit of time to Ryan Newman's lap right there in turns 3. See if we can get some of it back off of turn 4, but regardless, a very good lap.
Got a great lap going right here. Larry Carter's going to be pleased with this when he sees it.
Just beats his teammate Carl Edwards by or about 3/100ths of a second.
So he's 4th overall of 16 cars that have gone out to qualify thus far. Now, 2006 was a very special year for Jimmie Johnson. He won a championship, but it all really began with a great run here in the month of August.
I think any kid that likes auto racing knows and thinks and dreams of racing in the Indy 500.
Jimmie Johnson wins the Allstate 400 at the Brickyard.
So to go to the Brickyard, not in an Indy car, but to be at the Brickyard, that's my one chance. So it definitely was a special race for me.
Jimmie Johnson won it here in 2006 and went on to become the NASCAR Sprint Cup champion in that year. Of course, winning back-to-back titles in 06 and 07. He'll be the next car to go out. On the track, though, right now, the 43 car. Bobby Labonte, former Brickyard 400 winner, driving for the King, Richard Petty.
Yeah, they struggled a little bit in practice yesterday. I think they ran the first practice entirely in race setup and then came back and got a little more respectable in that second practice. We can see he lost a little bit of time off of turn 2, and that's going to hurt him all the way down the backstretch.
Well, that turn exit is so important at this racetrack because these straightaways are so long.
Yeah, you want to get into that second corner hard. You know, you want to try not to lift off the gas or get on the brake or anything. But if you get in there just a little hard, late getting back to the throttle, then it just kills that lap.
Bobby Labonte, one of the former Brickyard 400 winners that went on and won a championship. It was like we saw Jimmie Johnson a moment ago. He won this race in 2000 and went on to become the NASCAR Sprint Cup champion at the end of that season.
And not really the lap that Bobby was looking for, but as we said, that the sun's come back out some, the temperature continues to go up, and again, when that happens, they're just losing grip.
47 cars, and if you look, there have been 17 of the 47 that have gone thus far.
We're getting ready to find out just how much grip this track has lost, because the fastest guy yesterday is getting ready to go next.
Yeah.
Former winners here that have won NASCAR Sprint Cup championships. Well, the list is pretty full with the exception of Ricky Rudd and Kevin Harvick. Everyone else, every other race here, 12 of the 14 have been won by a driver who's a champion. Yep, Dale Jarrett. You see him on the list there twice. One of only 3 multiple winners at this prestigious event.
And I know everybody has an opinion as to why that happens, why the correlation between winning this race and going on to win a championship. And I'll add my opinion too. I just think that by the time you get to this race, you're separating yourself as far as a championship contender. The teams that are really good and looking to win that championship are up to speed by this point in time. And if you can come here, this is one of the most difficult racetracks that we'll see. And if you do well here, then you have a chance. We see Jimmie Johnson's on pace right now to try to take that pole away from Ryan Newman.
He really got through turns 1 and 2 If he can carry this speed off of turn 2 down the backstretch, he's got a 10th and a half right now on Ryan Newman.
Yeah, that was incredible, turns 1 and 2 right there. If he didn't use up all of his tires right at that point, he's got a really good shot here. This is going to be the telltale sign. You see his car get a little bit loose, and he's trying to really keep it on the bottom. Didn't seem to hurt him too bad speed-wise. So.
He's still bringing it down. He's got a quarter of a second on Ryan Newman off turn 4.
Yeah.
What an effort by Jimmy Johnson on the pole at Daytona. Can he get the pole at Indianapolis? And he does it. 49.515 seconds, and that's what I say. Wow, that's 2/10, guys.
Yeah, I think, Andy, that's exactly why you and I picked him this week to win this race.
He's making us look good.
Gotta believe Jimmy Johnson is going to be all smiles when he gets that car back to pit road. Back in a moment. ESPN's Game of the Week features another chapter in the greatest rivalry in Major League Baseball as A-Rod and New York Yankees take on Manny Ramirez and the Boston Red Sox. The race for the American League East title continues at Fenway, only on ESPN, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Boy, how good is that series, Yankees and Red Sox? How good has this guy been over the years at this racetrack? The 2006 Indy 500 pole winner and race winner, Sam Hornish, but a bit of a struggle here today.
He's going to be disappointed with this lap. He's only beat 2 cars. That's a 50-91. I know that's got to be disappointing.
Yeah, I'm sure that it is, but it's very difficult to come out here your first time driving these cars. He spun out yesterday, first lap on the track, and have to come here this morning, no time on the racetrack, and make his qualifying attempt. Very difficult.
Shannon?
Yeah, right now it's 2 Roush Fenway Fords, 5th and 6th. Carl Edwards, number 99, 6th on the board right now. Do you feel like you got everything out of that lap, Carl?
No, not everything, but I sure did screw it up. You know, I was just down here talking to Kevin Olson, and he's telling me I'm being a wuss. But I just, you know, Saflac Fusion was so good in race trim, and I went and ran that vitamin water car over at ORP, and I got in this car and I thought, man, don't overdrive it, and I kind of babied it through 1 and 2, and ran real well through 3 and 4. So I'm pretty happy with it. I hope it holds up for a top 10, and I think race trim's gonna be real good.
All right, for Carl Edwards fans, you can catch him qualifying over at ORP at 4:30 today on ESPN2, guys.
Thank you, Shannon. Kyle Busch out to try to get his car. Speaking of double duty drivers, he's been pretty good this year, by the way.
He hadn't been bad, but he did struggle here yesterday in practice. They never did get their car up to speed, so to speak, and we see that right now he's almost 4/10 off of Jimmy Johnson's pole speed so far.
One thing that's going to happen, though, I know these Gibbs cars are going to race well. We talked about how they struggled yesterday in practice, but they're really working on the race setup, and we know Tony Stewart at least knows how to get his car to where he can get it to win.
Let's gauge him against his teammate. Tony Stewart, by the way, his time was a 50.145. We're actually comparing him on our tracker to the pole sitter, Jimmy Johnson.
Just a little slower than Tony Stewart.
50.345 puts him 11th of the 20 cars that have gone.
I'm sure Steve Addington's saying, okay, that's just a starting spot. We can get this thing right for the race. Shannon?
Yeah, we're down here with Jimmy Johnson, currently your provisional pole sitter. How'd you feel on that lap? How aggressive were you out there?
I certainly was aggressive. Ryan put up a really strong lap, and I went for it. Maybe not the tidiest lap, but certainly plenty of speed in the car. And it's fun when you have a car that drives that well, and you can really get in there and challenge yourself and be aggressive with it. So, my hat's off to this race team for working so hard, and hopefully this holds up for the Slows and Paula.
All right, your teammate Jeff Gordon is out there on the track right now. Jimmy Johnson was saying, "Come on, son."
And he's not talking about his son, because he doesn't have one. He's talking about the sun in the sky. Yeah, he's a teammate, but right now he'd like to be on the pole. Jeff Gordon, 3-time pole winner, 4-time race winner at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And he's got to beat a 49.515 second lap.
You can really see Jeff hustle that car off of turn 4. That's as important here to get going, getting your car back to that start-finish line.
You see Jimmy, he's looking in our monitor actually down there in the garage area. He's watching this lap. He's wanting to see if he can see that tracker now. He probably likes what he sees if he sees this.
Looking very good. And I think this right here shows just how good a lap Jimmy Johnson made.
One thing I saw about Jimmy Johnson's car is it reacted so quickly to the steering inputs he put into it without getting loose. And that's the thing. You know, if you got a car that'll just really react to the steering wheel and the rear wheels will stay under you, man, you got a good car here.
You can see Jeff eased out a little bit in turn 2, but really made up a lot of time going down the backstretch. Don't know that he's going to make up enough to get to the pole, but he's got a really good lap going here.
Now losing time coming out of turn 4. Hammer down on the straightaway. A big smile from Jimmy Johnson. Says, no, I want him to do well, but not well enough to beat me. Here comes Jeff Gordon by, and he will be 4th quickest at a 49.849 seconds.
The Chevrolets have now kind of bookended those Dodges that were dominating things for the first part of the session. Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon 1st and 4th, and then 2 Dodges, Ryan Newman and Casey Kane.
The top Toyota is 10th, right? That would be Tony Stewart right now. The top 4, Jamie McMurray. In 6th spot, it's McMurray, Edwards, and Biffle. The 3, Roush, Fenway, Ford, 6th, 7th, and 8th thus far. Jeff Burton on the track, the 31 car. Another Richard Childress entry. 3rd overall in the point standings. Has run very well here in the past. Hasn't had a lot of luck in the late races, but has been a factor here normally in the first 80 to 90 laps. Just can't, for some reason, the car seems to go away late.
Yeah, when I think about drivers that should really have a good opportunity to run well here, you think Jeff Burton comes to mind because he likes the flatter surfaces. He really works hard at making his car handle, and that's what this is about. If you can get your cars to handle through these corners and maximize that straightaway speed, then you have a really good chance, and Jeff has shown that. He just hasn't made it. He hadn't capitalized totally by getting to victory lane yet, but that could happen here tomorrow.
Settled the pole here in 2006, and it looks from that little blip of green, he drove it hard in the 1.
Yeah, but he paid for it on the exit off of turn 1. I mean, it just really went downhill from there.
Yeah, and you get really jacked up here. You want to put on a good lap qualifying, and you carry. If you probably got off of turn 4 coming to get the green flag really good, and sometimes you don't realize you're carrying that much more speed down into that first corner, and it's easy to overdrive it.
It seems to me that it's really hard to be defensive. If you're going to run a fast lap, you can't really drive in the corner on defense. You've got to go down there and see if the car will stick.
Yeah, you have to do that. And we heard Carl Edwards talk about his lap. We saw and documented how well he got through 3 and 4, but he came on then and said that he wasn't as aggressive as he thought he could have been in 1 and 2, and that might have cost him some. Jeff Burton, I don't think this is the lap that he was looking for. He's going to be in at 50.72, which is 18th right now. So yeah, they're going to have to probably do some strategy tomorrow to get themselves back up towards the front.
Yeah, they're going to have some work to do on Sunday, but this group here can do it.
Jeff Burton, 18th overall of 22 cars that have gone. And talking about a guy that's been pretty busy on the year. How about this guy running all 3 major series, 47 starts, folks? That's not a misprint. He has 14 wins overall, 7 in Cup, 5 in Nationwide, and 2 in Trucks, and 30 top 10 finishes. Let's visit with Kyle Busch.
And of course, he's the winner of the last 2 Sprint Cup races as well. Kyle, what'd you think of your lap?
It wasn't very good. Kind of got tight off 1, missed my entry to 2. You know, easy footed it into 3 because of my tight in turn 1, and then got tight off 4. So not a very good lap for the M&M's Toyota, but I don't know. We'll see what we can work on here. We weren't that fast yesterday anyway, so got to make some gains.
Well, Doc, based upon what we've seen with Kyle Busch here in Indianapolis in years past, starting outside the top 10, not necessarily a problem. He's always started outside the top 10, but rallied for a pretty good finish.
Exactly, Mike. No one counts him out. And here is a driver who is, what do they say in the garage area when I was down there talking to him yesterday? We're due. We are due at this place.
You see the same thing. He got in turn 1 in the green, but he paid for it a little bit on the exit. Let's see how he gets off turn 2.
Yeah, he got a little loose getting into turn 2. You could see just a little bit of a wiggle, and that hurt him on the exit of turn 2. See, they really had the front end of these cars sealed off, Andy.
Yeah, you see he's maintaining a pretty good speed down the straightaway, and that's key, keeping this thing down out of the air. They don't have as much to work with this splitter now being lower to the ground, but they still want that thing sitting right there on the track.
Yeah, it's a little surprising talking to some of the drivers. I was thinking maybe they were doing this more with shocks and really holding them down, but they were saying no, everything they've learned about this car, jacking forces and things, is how they're doing it. So they're being easy with the tires by not having to put all that shock.
It's a pretty good lap. Top 10, 8th spot.
Yeah, going out at this time, I don't think they're going to be disappointed with that at all.
A year ago, he led early here, led 33 laps, and in fact was running 5th with 25 laps to go and had a pulley come off the front of the engine. Thought he might have had something for him a year ago, and it didn't didn't materialize. Difference between 2007 and 2008 for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Well, a world of difference. Two different teams. He's with Hendrick Motorsports this year. Got a win already. At Michigan, 7 top 5s. Doesn't have a DNF. Don't want to jinx him, so I'm not going to mention much on that. And he currently sits second in the points, some 10 positions higher than he was a year ago. Let's go down and visit with one of the veterans on the series with Jamie.
Well, Mark Martin comes back to Indianapolis, and you know, just a handful of races ago at Pocono, he had a top 10 finish and said, we can win at Indy. What made you say that, Mark, and do you still feel that way after practice?
This could be the one. You know, we just really had a great car at Phoenix, and I felt like that setup would adapt to Indy very well because of the flat corners. You know, we're not exactly there yet, but we were a top 10 car yesterday, and, you know, I think this race team is due a win. They've been due a win for a year. I've been watching them. I'd love to see these guys' faces in victory lane. And, you know, I'd like to take the Army, U.S. Army, to victory lane as well. And this is a place to do it. So I think the potential is here. We've got to get a little bit more, get a little closer during happy hour. And if we do that, this could be the one.
All right, we're going to have to keep an eye on the 8-car. Happy hour will be on our broadcast, Doc. We'll see how the changes help the 8 team.
Very un-Mark Martin-like for him to predict he's going to win a race. He's normally very unassuming, so folks, watch out. Now, here's a guy that's very good. The last time they were on a track with long straightaways and tight turns, Pocono, Brian Vickers finished second.
I actually think he was probably looking for a little more than what we're going to see here out of his time. He got into turn 1 a little bit too hard. He paid the price coming out of there. He's going to end up 13th quickest at a 50.30. But I think when it comes race time, we'll see this guy be towards the front.
Qualifying continued in Indianapolis, and when we come back, a famous name, Mears, takes to the track.
The stars of the NASCAR Nationwide Series are set to battle it out under the lights at Indy's other track. The young guns like the red-hot Joey Logano, the man who's second in the points, Brad Keselowski, and 18-year-old Landon Castle will try to fend off Cup stars like defending series champion Carl Edwards, 5-time winner this season Kyle Busch, and the points leader Clint Bowyer. Can local hero Jason Leffler defend his win from last year at O'Reilly Raceway Park? We'll tune in and see tonight, 7:30 Eastern on ESPN.
Marty, we'll head your way after our qualifying here. NASCAR Nationwide Series final practice coming up next. How about some IndyCar action? Bob Jenkins will have the call. The Edmonton Indy today, 5 o'clock Eastern time. NHRA Fram Autolite Nationals qualifying tonight at 6 Eastern time. And, of course, NASCAR Nationwide Series at ORP tonight. Live flag-to-flag coverage, 7:30. NASCAR Now will kick off our coverage tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. And then at 1 o'clock Eastern time, NASCAR Countdown. Alan Bastwick, Brad Daugherty, and the whole crew on board the 15th running of the Allstate 400 at the Brickyard. Told you a famous Indianapolis name was coming up to qualify. Mears. Remember Uncle Rick, a 6-time pole sitter and 4-time winner here. Here's Casey trying to get his car in the top 10, and right now he is 20th on the board.
I'm sure Casey's going to be disappointed with that lap. His teammates sitting up front. You know, these guys have a pretty good setup here.
Yeah, the other 3 Hendrick cars are all in the top 8, and I'm sure that Casey was looking for a little bit more. But, again, it only takes a little bit, and it just hurts the whole lap.
He could have been trying to get that little extra and gave it up. Jamie?
I was just talking to Kevin Harvick, and he's looking at some notes, and it's actually a map of the track. And what did you write? What things were you looking at, Kevin?
Just trying to make sure that your memories jog from everything that you did yesterday and all the little, you know, we did 2 runs yesterday, 3 runs actually, just trying to make sure that you remember the little characteristics that you do and don't want to do. There's a lot of little things that you can screw up here, and not very many places you can make up speed. But our Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet was really good in practice yesterday, and obviously the conditions aren't what they were this morning, but we'll see what happens.
Well, Kevin Harvick told me yesterday this new car, pretty much characteristics are the same for the driver. You just need to brake a little harder, get on the throttle a little sooner. Shannon?
Well, Jamie, down here with Dale Earnhardt Jr., a very busy morning for your team here. We saw them having to go back through tech, change that rear camber. How did that change the handling of the car on the track, Junior?
It didn't. It was a real minimal adjustment they had to make to get the camber through, and the car felt pretty good. It was a little loose, but I didn't have any real moments out there. I thought the lap would be a little bit better than that, and I wanted to run a really good lap for my guys, but they've been working really hard on this car, trying to get it good this weekend, and and they're really, really proud of it. And we'll work really hard the rest of the day on race trim for tomorrow. And again, just great engines. Really, really happy with the horsepower in my car and the body and everything on the car is just really slick. So a lot of hard work going into this car this weekend, about like you'd expect for like a Daytona type weekend. So we're trying to do the best we can.
All right, big weekend for Dale Earnhardt Jr. here at Indianapolis, guys. Currently 8th on the qualifying list.
Thanks, Shannon. The 11 car out, Denny Hamlin, had a forgettable visit here a year ago. Had a good run, got caught for speeding, went back to 42nd, then he ran him out of gas about 20 laps later. So he said, I got to somehow have a good race here in Indianapolis. He clocks in 16th overall of those that have gone out.
No fun to run out of gas here, is it, Dale?
No, been there. Yeah, with a really fast race car. But, Denny will, 16th right now. He's probably going to end up somewhere just in the 20s. And that's a manageable thing to, if you've got a good race car, you can work your way. You've got 400 miles to get up front. As we see Elliott Sadler now on the racetrack, and this was one of the cars yesterday that was extremely fast in practice. He was excited. He didn't think because of his draw that he had a shot at the pole, but we'll see. Sometimes he tells me those things and he's not exactly all truthful there about that.
Elliott Sadler won the pole here back in 2005. Remember, there are Dodges currently sitting second and third on the speed chart. Ryan Newman and Casey Kane.
Yeah, two things. He's got a really good race car. Again, he's excited about this new generation car that they've built him. The other thing is he's a great qualifier. He loves this racetrack.
We sure gave up a lot off of turn one. He may have gotten the thing loose getting in.
And I think what we're seeing here is that's where Jimmy Johnson really whipped everybody right there, because we're seeing every single car. We kind of talked the same thing, but every one of them are losing that time between turns 1 and 2. Jimmy Johnson did a phenomenal job there.
Well, he's whipping the ponies coming up the backstretch. He was coming back toward that line that Jimmy Johnson set on our tracker, and then loses a little bit between 3 and 4.
Well, that's amazing. He made that much ground up down the back straightaway. So it tells me he's got a pretty good horse under the hood.
Yeah, and he set turn 2 up really well by getting back to the gas early. Normally, Elliott's one to back out a little early and then get back to the gas really hard and soon.
Top 5.
Yeah, good lap for this time of day.
Yeah, even with that situation entering turn 1 you're talking about, that is a pretty impressive lap.
Yeah, and again, I'm not sure that what we're seeing is much of these guys messing up there as what Jimmy Johnson just did a great job in getting his car into turn 1 and off of that corner getting to turn 2.
Elliott Sadler finished third here in 2004. Would still like to be able to get a win here. Never won at Indianapolis. More qualifying when we come back in a moment. Qualifying continued in Indianapolis. The 55 car double nickels on the racetrack. That's Michael Waltrip and his Toyota. See how Mikey will do. They're chasing a 49.51 set by Jimmy Johnson. He right now is the quickest of all.
So once again, car lose time off of turn 2 and down the backstretch. And yeah, I can't tell you how difficult it is to go out this morning. You haven't been on the racetrack since yesterday afternoon. Everybody pretty much made adjustments to their cars, and you're just out there giving it all that you have. But one little slip, and it costs you a lot of time on the racetrack.
27 cars have gone. Looks like Michael might outrun a couple of them. He does. He clocks in at 25th fastest so far.
50.770 seconds, and that is considerably faster than even the fastest lap he ran all day yesterday. Let's check in with Jamie.
Well, Doc, if you look at practice times from yesterday, the Fords were not on the top of the speed charts, 15th and worse. So, Matt, during practice yesterday, what was the #1 priority you guys were working on with your car?
Well, trying to get our car to turn, basically. You know, none of the Ford cam got to do the tire test here, so we're kind of a little bit behind with no data. And we just got here and we were really tight, like we kind of expected. Just trying to get the car to turn really good. So track position is going to be a lot Sunday. We got a bad qualifying draw, so we're going to try to make the most of it and get the best lap we can here, and hopefully get it tuned up for tomorrow.
How much are you praying that these clouds roll over? They're kind of going back and forth through the sun.
Yeah, I mean, we can control a lot of things, but the weather's not one of them. So we're just going to, hope the clouds get back over the top of the sun there. Just actually peaked out and started heating up here a minute ago. So not much we can do about that. We just got to make the best we can of it, try to get the best starting position we can, and try to get our car to handle really good for the race.
Certainly making the temperature fluctuate quickly. DJ?
Yeah, Jamie, I've heard, though, that this guy yesterday in race practice was the car to beat. I think a lot of people are pointing toward him. Not surprising, because this team has really been on a roll. I think in the last 5 races, they've gained more points than anybody else, or gathered more points through those. So I would look for Matt Kenseth, regardless of where he qualifies, to be a factor tomorrow.
Matt still looking for that first win here in 2008. Paul Menard on the clocks here. Eau Claire, Wisconsin driver. Speaking of going from one Wisconsin driver to another, Paul Menard, the famous Menard family, a major factor here in sponsorship of Indy cars over the year. John Menard, his dad, and of course the hardware magnate, has had cars on the front row before here. And IndyCar racing would like to see his son maybe get on the front row here in a stock car race.
That car a little bit loose over there between 1 and 2.
But not a bad lap. He's rebounded from that, really, and is going to have what looks like a reasonable lap for himself.
Got loose in the 1.
He's actually getting into 1. He said he got loose.
And when you do it that early in the lap, it doesn't look very good. It's kind of hard, because you know that the prospects of actually making up time are kind of slim. But Paul rebounded and did okay there.
Let's visit with Denny Hamlin. Mike?
And during his lap, Denny said your tires were chattering pretty good in all 4 corners. How bad that hurt you?
Quite a bit. We had to check up off of turn 2 and off of turn 4. Just couldn't keep the gas down. But, you know, that's the direction I was heading Mike in all day yesterday. We were so free that, you know, we had to make adjustments, or else we weren't going to make up any ground. So, you know, it's, you know, we could have got a better lap in the FedEx office Toyota, but, you know, we're going to have to come from the 20s probably.
Well, Doc, he does have an ace in his hole, and of course that's his crew chief, Mike Ford. Remember, back in 2002, he was the winning crew chief with Bill Elliott.
Absolutely. And this guy, you know, here we're talking about guys that have long histories of being successful. Mark Martin, 22 years in a NASCAR Sprint Cup car. And the news earlier in the month, he's going to come back full-time in 2009 for Hendrick Motorsports and go after that elusive championship. And you heard the prediction. You've got a car to beat, maybe not in qualifying, but on race day.
Yeah, how great was that to see Mark Martin talk about winning here? I think that, man, that just made me look forward, wishing tomorrow would get here quickly, because all of us would love to see that happen. And, you know, I know that people have talked about, well, Mark was retired and said he wasn't going to come back full-time, and now he is. Yeah, he kind of, you know, got his batteries recharged, and he's ready to go back at this, and he's very capable of doing that.
Don't get any ideas.
No, I'm good right here with you guys.
Okay, Mark Martin, 49 years of age, out of Batesville, Arkansas. Oh, look at
Check
there.
this lap out, boys.
Wow, did he get off a turn 2 and down the backstretch?
If he gets through this corner, he's got some shade to deal with here, too. He might.
What do they say? Army strong. He's pretty stout. Can he get it out of 4?
Loses a little bit getting into 4.
I think you're going to see it make up here, though.
Here it goes.
Don't know if it can come back that much, but what a great lap.
Pretty good, Sylvia.
Yeah, it's pretty good, Mark.
Oh, my heavens.
That's real good.
Second quickest for Mark Martin. Hey, he predicted it, and he's not one to make idle predictions.
No, he's not. If he says something like this, you better take it seriously, because Mark Martin normally isn't that bold in his predictions. So, folks, you better tune in early tomorrow.
Mark Martin slowing down, and we have a chance to visit with a special guest. Brian Vickers comes in, the driver of the Red Bull Toyota. Brian, thanks for coming over and visiting with us a little bit.
Thanks for having me on.
Tell us about the racetrack right now, your qualifying run. A lot of guys seem to be really driving this thing. I mean, just driving it off in turn 1 and then hanging on.
Well, I'll tell you, I was going to come on here and tell you that the reason we qualified 14th right now is because the track slowed down and, you know, the sun's out. But Mark just absolutely ruined that for me. You know, we knew yesterday we had a decent qualifying car, but we weren't probably contending for the pole. And instead of going out there and trying to qualify top 5 or top 10, I went out there and I tried to qualify for the pole and I ended up 15th.
You guys got a lot of momentum going with that race team right now. You're contenders. Actually, I kind of chose you as one of the favorites coming into this race to have a shot at this.
Well, I really appreciate that. I appreciate the vote of confidence. You know, I think we're going to have a good race car. You know, in race trim, that's usually where we tend to shine. But the qualifying wasn't quite our best.
Yeah, we see Travis Quaffle.
He gets in the fence.
Get into the fence there. Now, he has a crew chief that did me a lot of good here over the years with Todd Parrott.
Yeah, I tell you, that it's tough here at Indy. Once you lose your momentum here, as you know, DJ, you're done. And you only got one shot at it where the car's taped up the way they are.
Brian, how hard is that going out here? You haven't practiced this morning. Yesterday afternoon was the last time you were in the car, and to come here on a racetrack that I always considered one of the hardest ones to lay down a good lap.
You're absolutely right. It really is. You know, everybody looks at this track as just 4 turns identical, and they're not. Each one's unique and how you have to approach each one. You know, obviously, Red Bull in the morning helped me more than anything. getting up bright and early.
Todd Parrott, the guy that helped you, DJ, we're talking about the wins you had here at Indianapolis, and he's the crew chief on the Yates racing effort for Travis Quapple, who just bounced it off the wall here beginning his qualifying lap. We'll show you again, and he just kept his foot in the throttle. Here is the touch, or is it a bump?
That's a pretty good, yeah, he's hit that thing pretty good. Todd Parrott's going to have some work to do in the garage.
Yeah, but you know, in 1996, I hit it coming off of turn 4, actually, and I thought when I left here to go over to Raceway Park to run that race that I was going to bring a backup car out, but Todd worked on that car and got it fixed, and it went to Victory Lane later. So he actually, I mean, these cars seem to take a little bit more, and he actually qualified 21st, so not a terrible lap.
It did knock too much speed out of it.
So are you predicting a win for him since that happened to you in 96 and you came back and won the race?
Well, yeah, it'd be a good thing for them. They've got a new sponsor on the car for Doug Yates and Todd Parrott. That would be a great thing to happen. So I know that Todd will work hard to get that car back right.
And here's the best part. It's the first of a 6-week deal with Power Tools from Itachi. They can use some of those right now.
Yeah, definitely can.
Yeah, I hope they got the batteries charged up, ready to go.
Yeah. Here's a guy that knows a little something about getting around here. Brian, we heard Kevin Harvick talk a little bit ago about he was looking at some notes about maybe more of what not to do instead of what to do. I know that you're very big in keeping a lot of notes. Do you do that before you go qualify at a place like this?
Yeah, I absolutely do, especially in the years past, you know, because the cars have been very similar year to year. I've kept, you know, tried to keep really good notes about, you know, what we did, what I did as a driver, and what we did as a team, what worked and what didn't, especially, you know, places like this where your line has to be so precise in qualifying. With this car, the line has changed so much that I find myself just kind of more glancing over my notes than following them directly.
Changed. How has it changed?
You know, you're not carrying as much speed at the end of the straightaway. Your braking points are different. Your throttle points are different. You can't carry as much speed through the corner now as you used to. And that changes, you know, those notes that I have, you know, this is the braking mark. That changes quite a bit there. You see Kevin Harvick qualify 16th there. It was a, you know, pretty decent lap. I'm sure he probably wanted something a little bit better, but he probably wants to go back and look through those notes one more time.
Brian, we know it's a busy week for you guys. We appreciate you coming over and visiting a little bit. The top 15 start right now for you and your Red Bull Toyota. We wish you the best of luck here tomorrow.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for having me on again. And you guys are doing a great job. Hey, now that you're in HD, do you worry more about, you know, when you get ready in the mornings?
Yeah, but we don't have to worry about that much as good looking three of us are.
Makeup takes a long time for the three of us. All those comedians out of work, and we have to have one come join us. Brian Vickers should be a factor on Sunday. We'll be right back.
The Boston Red Sox, bolstered by the return of big slugger David Ortiz, play host to their bitter rivals, the New York Yankees and Alex Rodriguez. It's another meeting in this storied rivalry. Yankees-Red Sox. It's ESPN Sunday Night Baseball at 8 Eastern.
Classic confrontation on the field in baseball, and just a moment ago, the 0-1 had an oh my here at Indianapolis. Regan Smith, leading Rookie of the Year contender, contact with the concrete.
You think maybe, Dale, he saw his teammate up there on the outside front road. He thought he had a car that could get up there. Maybe tried just a little too hard. Yeah. Track temp is really coming up, though, and I just don't know how Mark Martin laid down the lap he did, but it just says a lot about that car. But it's killing a lot of these guys' lap times.
Wow, that's a huge gain in the track temp. And I think that's the biggest thing. Again, we talk about the air temp. Yeah, that's not that big a deal. It's how much this racing surface heats up, and these guys are having problems as get down into turn 1. They're really trying hard. And like you said, Mark Martin was up there. He did a great job. I'm sure that they were thinking, okay, I've got the same stuff he's got. I'm going to make this lap fast too.
We told you how important the luck of the draw was, and you see the temperatures coming up, and that's an issue for the guys yet to go. Let's check in with Jamie.
And one of those drivers yet to go, Marcos Ambrose, doing the double duty, or attempting to. He wants to get in this field, needs to get qualified, but you guys blew an engine yesterday. How are you feeling right about now in your chances of making the field?
Well, a little apprehensive, you know. This is my first time to the Brickyard. I've had 2 timed laps around here. I know I've got to gain like a second here to make the show from what we practiced yesterday. So it's going to be really tough. But, you know, you got to jump in the deep end to swim sometimes, and that's what we're doing.
Let me ask you, you put some tape right here. You just took it out yourself. What did you mark there?
It was pink, so I just got to match to the color of the car, you know, maybe a bit of good luck.
What do you put it on the wheel for?
That's just so you know if you have a big slide and you've got to put more than half a rotation wheel in, you know where dead center of the tires are. So you can get back to 0 point pretty quick if you need to.
All right, so you're telling me you're just being proactive.
Yeah, just in case.
Just in case. He's going to roll out here for the first time trying to make the field for the Brickyard on Sunday, Doc.
Jamie, it's all about the details. Got to have color-coordinated tape on the steering wheel. Speaking of yellow, we got Stanley. It actually it says Stanley, but it's Elliott. Elliott Sadler, thanks for coming in and joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, we talked about the fact you were so good in practice yesterday, but your buddy here, DJ, said by virtue of the luck of the draw, when you were going to go out, your shot for the pole would be minimized.
It is. I mean, and that's something that you know at Indy. It's all about the luck of the draw, and it gets in the driver's head, and you can be optimistic about it or pessimistic about it. But I think that's a pretty good run for us to go as late as we did. I think Mark Martin did a great job running as fast as he did. My car was great. It handled good. We lost a little RPM in the motor, so we're scratching our heads a little bit right now. We lost over 200 RPM today compared to yesterday and ran faster. So as far as the way the car drove, I'm very excited about it. I think we're going to run very good tomorrow, and it was seemed to be good yesterday in race trim. So the Stanley Dodge, I think, is going to be okay.
Are you saying if you can lose 2 more 100 RPM between now and tomorrow, you could win this?
We could. You know, it's funny how things like that happen, but this is a cool racetrack, and we know it's hard to pass. We know track position is going to be very important because it's such a flat track. So if we can qualify somewhere in the top 7 or 8, we're hoping that's a good start to the race. That means no pit strategies off the very beginning, taking a lot of chances. We get a good pit selection on pit road. So so far our weekend starting off on the right foot.
How much different is your qualifying setup than your race setup going to be? How much do you have to change the car?
It is. You know, I think a lot of these guys, if you look, you know, the fans at home watching these cars go around, the whole car is really on the ground, and we get to run a lot of tape on the front of these cars for qualifying. We got hardly any spring in the back of these cars. You know, we wanted the whole thing dragging the ground because we're only running 1 lap. But when you take all the tape off the front and you're going to be in traffic and a lot of that balance shift changes, we're going to have to put some more rear spring back in it, you know, get the car a little bit loose and out from under you where it'll be good on a long run and you can take care of that right front tire. We just abused that right front tire right there for 1 solid lap. So we'll make a few changes, probably loosen up the car a little bit, Andy, for race trim.
Elliott, we talked yesterday and a little bit this morning about this is the newest generation of car at Gillette Evernham Motorsports. What is different about it?
That's a great question, DJ, and I want to tell all the guys at home, Gillette Evernham Motorsports, great job. I mean, thumbs up to that. Casey, myself, and Patrick are very happy with it. We're just trying to keep up with the Joneses pretty much. We're trying to, every time we build a new one of these cars, we want to try to make it lighter, where we can put more lead where we want to in the frame rails. We want to make the front end a little bit grippier, make it more responsive. As Goodyear changes the tire, we have to change the way we build the car a little bit. Aerodynamics, we're learning a lot of things about these cars, what they like, what they don't like. Not only on the shell of the car, but also underneath and stuff like that. So we just study changing our cars little by little, and this is like the next crop of cars. We came at one at Charlotte, and Casey won with it. This is the next generation here this weekend, and so far so good. The test record's pretty well.
Those grippier Dodges, by the way, are 4th and 6th right now with Casey Kane and Elliott Sadler. Elliott, our guest here, as you watch Matt Kenseth on for his laps. And DJ, as you mentioned, this is the guy that said, watch out in the race. Not sure about qualifying, but this guy is going to be a major factor on Sunday.
Yeah, he got off of turn 4 coming to get to green really good, and that benefited him well getting down the front straightaway to turn 1. Again, we see that Jimmy Johnson just made a phenomenal lap between turns 1 and 2 and off of 2, so everybody's losing a little bit of time there. But Matt, I think for this time of day, he had to sit there, you know, on top of having a late draw, the car in front of him hit the wall, and that prolonged things a little bit more for him. We see him losing a little bit of time. Looks like he's starting to lose a little bit of grip right here, Elliott.
Yeah, I mean, just, you know how this track is, DJ. As you run a qualifying lap, the track gets a little bit tighter each and every corner you get to. And by the time you get back to turn 4, your car's probably sliding a little bit. But actually, 10th is a great lap. And it heated up just in the 10 minutes. We sat there on the red flag while they were checking the track. So Matt was very good yesterday in race trim. I think one of the best cars. And usually when he qualifies in the top 10, you better watch out on Sundays.
Yeah, that's currently 10th. That's a really good lap, I believe. But we talk about that track temperature and how much it has from the beginning of qualifying here. You can see it was 85 degrees just before 10 o'clock. 19 degrees it's gone up. And folks, that's nothing. That's just like saying, okay, we're going to make you go on scuff tires out here. You can't have a new tire. That's how much grip you lose.
And in just 8 minutes, it went up 2 more degrees.
Yeah.
And remember, from the time this race begins on Sunday until 400 miles are complete, this track is going to go through a lot of changes in terms of temperature and grip. So that's these guys are going to be chasing it all day. Jamie.
Well, man who's had a lot of history here in Indianapolis racing the Indy 500, raced USAC the other night and doing double duty, Jason Leffler. Jason, we don't talk to you guys too much about this, but you're qualifying in the back. What is the pressure like knowing you have to make the field?
I mean, obviously there's a lot of pressure anytime you're out of the top 35. Lucky for me, the guys, the Hunt Brothers Chevy's really quick. The guys at the Haas Racing gave me a great car. It was really solid yesterday, so just the pressure of not making a big mistake, and we'll be in good shape. We'll be in the Brickyard 400 on Sunday.
First thing this morning, though, over at ORP in your Nationwide car, how's it working over there? You're defending winner.
Yeah, it's going good. Todd Losing, the guys over there at the Great Clips Toyota, are doing a great job sliding around. Typical ORP. I look forward to the race tonight, and really look forward to getting this qualifying effort done and you know, have a sigh of relief and you know, just have a good time from here on out.
Well, we'll have to stay tuned until tonight, 7:30 ESPN. Nationwide action heats up, and see if Jason Leffler can defend his title.
What a special moment that was for him at ORP a year ago, and for Toyota getting their first win in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. David Gilliland, 32 years of age, out of Riverside, California, another one of the Yates Racing cars. Doug Yates and Max Jones, the co-owners, and he clocks in 19th overall.
I don't think they're going to be unhappy with that at this time of day. They knew when they saw that draw that everything was working against them. So a pretty decent lap for David right there.
You know, he impresses me as a driver, but what really impresses me the most when I read his bio, he was on the same high school golf team with Tiger Woods.
Yeah, I would assume that he was at least number 2 or 3 on that team.
I got to believe.
Just a guess.
Okay, that's the top 35 guys in points that have gone so far. The rest of these guys are going to have to make it on speed.
I think that's tough being here. You know, it's usually an advantage going at the end at every other racetrack, but here these guys go out towards the tail end of the field. Okay, guys, you got to make it on time. You get one lap. Oh, by the way, this is the slickest the racetrack is going to be all day. So
Yeah.
go and good luck.
And have fun.
Exactly, and have fun with it. And that's, you know, I was talking to my teammate Patrick Carpentier about that yesterday. Some things that Dale Jarrett taught me. They're so easy to overdrive these corners for qualifying because you want to get that extra little bit. So I just really try to tell my teammate, look, it's going to be hot and slick. You're going out late. Make sure you get off turn 2 and turn 4 as best you can. Don't overdrive it. Make that straightaway as long as you can. If you do that, you're going to have a great chance of making this race for Sunday.
The one thing that your teammate Patrick Carpentier has got going for him is you guys got some fast cars here, and I look for him to be one of these the faster guys in this group.
Yeah, he usually does a pretty good job qualifying.
That's what I was going to say. He's a great qualifier. So does he listen when you talk to him?
He does.
Yeah.
A lot of times he don't understand what I'm saying. Maybe the language barrier sometimes breaks down.
Yeah, he's got an accent, right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm in good shape.
Between Emporia, Virginia, and the French-Canadian, yeah, it may be a little tough to understand you two talking. Here's the 08 car, Johnny Sauter. This is the car owned by John Carter, veteran Tony Furr. Has back sort of wrenching this car, trying to get him in the show.
Yeah, this is going to be a very marginal lap here. We see he struggled getting through the corners, and obviously that hurt him down the straightaways then. He's going to clock in at 51.80, so
that's the slowest of the cars that's actually timed in. We've got Regan Smith that did not finish a lap.
Yeah, they were 45th on the speed charts of the 47 cars that are here. And again, folks, a reminder, the 35 are guaranteed by owner's points, and there are 8 spots left, and the 12 guys that are going to go now must get in one of those 8, so 4 will go home. He did shut this one down and did not run the second lap. But this is the first time that we've come to Indianapolis where the drivers who have to get in on time and speed are all clustered together at the back of the field, which does sort of level the playing field a little bit for those guys.
Yeah, it sure does. Does it make it difficult? Yeah, I mean, just like Elliott said, these are the most slick conditions that the racetrack's going to be in for qualifying and put these guys together. But it's the fairest thing that we've done. It doesn't make any difference, I don't think, to anyone when they go out. It probably takes away anybody's chance at a pole. Patrick Carpentier was in the top 10 yesterday at practice speeds, but he's probably not going to get that today because of this draw. But it gives him a fair opportunity to make this race on time.
Ellie, you said on the pole here before, you know how important that is and what a big shot in the arm it is. But what about your chances to win this thing tomorrow? A lot of people are saying your team, you and Casey, you guys are going to be very, very good, and should either one could be threats.
You know, and I talked about this yesterday, and I've been able to win a couple races in my career, but I think sitting on the pole and leading the race here at the Allstate 400 a couple years ago was one of the proudest moments of my life, and just goosebumps and just feeling that adrenaline, just leading it because nobody's in front of you. You got fans on both sides of you, and it's just a great place to run at. So you know, we would love to have a chance to win the race and run good and have a chance to kiss those bricks. I've seen my teammate do it, and I would love to have that opportunity on Sunday. I'd love to give it to my team because they've worked so hard back at the shop building this new car to come to this race to give ourselves a fair chance of winning it. So that would be awesome to make that happen.
Those are the words of Elliott Sadler, and a lot of people believe that he will be a major factor. Very good in practice, and of course right now his car number 19, 6th overall. Front row Joe Nemechek on the clocks.
Yeah, he had a close encounter with the wall coming off of turn 2, as a number of drivers have. We see Joe clocks in 31st right now at a 50.82. Nobody has run a second lap, but to this point, looks like Joe's after that second lap. I can't imagine the loss of grip that there's any chance, unless you really mess up, that there's any chance that you can run faster on this second one, Elliott.
Plus, you got to run so much tape on the front of these things to create downforce that I don't think you can run a second lap. I mean, the water coolers and things that we have in these cars today are just not big enough to make where you can run a second lap. I think it's one and done. Let's tape it up. Let's go for it. Hope the driver hits all of his marks for all 4 corners and then go from there.
I know you got a busy afternoon ahead of you with happy hour coming up, but I just got to ask you, as good as you are and as much as you want this, how much will you sleep tonight?
I'll sleep pretty good tonight. I was pretty anxious last night because I knew we had a good car for today, and I didn't want to go up there and screw it up. I want to get a good solid lap down. But, you know, after the day's practices, a couple hours of race trim and things, I usually sleep pretty good on race night. I go get a big dinner and eat and probably watch the Nationwide race a little bit on ESPN tonight and just kind of take it easy, but get ready for a good race. Now, tomorrow morning, around the driver's meeting time and before the race, I'm sure the goosebumps will be pretty high and my blood pressure will be pretty high. But it's just a great race. Awesome energy at this racetrack. The Indiana fans come out and support NASCAR very well each and every time we come here. Just a great, great place to race. So looking forward to tomorrow.
Hey, thanks for coming over, and best of luck to you tomorrow in the Brickyard 400.
And great air conditioning up here, guys.
Elliott Sadler back with more qualifying in just a moment. 7 races are left until the race for the chase begins. Kyle Busch leads all drivers with 7 wins in 2008, and he holds a points lead of 282 points over Dale Earnhardt Jr. How about Jeff Gordon, who's won it 4 times? Could he win it for a coveted 5th time? Tony Stewart has won 2 of the last 3. Folks, we're talking about the Allstate 400. It's the 15th running here at the Brickyard. Our coverage begins tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern time with NASCAR Countdown. Thus far in qualifying, one of the early cars to go out, Roger Penske's Dodge, driven by Ryan Newman. He put up a time to beat. Mark Martin, although he went out late, he said, we've got a good car, we've got a great car for the race. And Mark Martin, the veteran, said, yeah, we're going to show you Army strong, and his Chevrolet on the outside of row 1 as he clocks in at 49.9616 seconds. But Jimmy Johnson, what a lap. Jimmy Johnson put up the 2006 winner here and reigning NASCAR Sprint Cup champion right now on the pole with a 49.515 second lap. Just concluding his qualifying lap is the 84 car, A.J. Allmendinger. And he is 23rd overall. He is the quickest of the cars that the go-or-go-homers that have had to make it on time and speed.
I'm going to go ahead and predict that's going to make it right there. I know we've got some guys to go, and he's not locked in officially yet, but that's going to make the field.
Yeah, that team has really improved. You know, they went through some transition early in this year, putting Mike Skinner in the car for a while. I think they really have things going in the right direction now. As we see Elliott Sadler, who was just in here, his teammate Patrick Carpentier, we heard him say that he talked to him about how to drive this and go out to qualify. Let's see what he's got.
Patrick has run the Indianapolis 500 here one time, started 25th, finished 21st, actually had a mechanical issue back in 2005. Already has won a pole in NASCAR Sprint Cup, did it at Loudon back at the end of June.
Like he was a little bit easy getting into 2, but that's helping him down the backstretch. We saw Mark Martin do it a lot the same way. Elliott Sadler, that they gained some time down the backstretch then. Looks like a pretty solid lap to this point, Andy.
Oh, absolutely. 17th quick right now. If he gets through this corner, he's going to be home free. That's Mike Shiplett, his crew chief. I spent some time with him in the garage. Checking out, this is a beautiful race car, brand new car. These guys do nice work and showing up here on the track. Oh man, great lap.
Great lap. Wow.
Well, Elliott predicted, he said this guy can qualify. He said he really can drive a car. He said I can't understand it a lot of times.
Good job, buddy. Good job.
Yeah, that's going to be solidly in the race.
Mike, run the corners there, but the car's pretty stable, just a little bit tight.
15th overall of the 39 cars that have gone out to qualify. Well, the guy you saw qualify just a moment ago joins us now here in the pit studio. Mark Martin, first of all, congratulations on a great lap.
Well, thank you. I really want to thank Tony Gibson, the U.S. Army team, and everybody at DEI and ECR Racing Engines. Great engine, great car. You know, I'm not even shaking. I wasn't even shaking after that lap. It didn't even scare me. It was so good.
Very un-Mark Martin-like. You predicted at Pocono, and then again earlier today, that you guys would have a good car for qualifying, but you may have one of the cars to beat for the race. I mean, you obviously convinced that you guys, this could be your weekend.
I am. You know, I felt like that Phoenix would correlate a lot to these flat corners, and we were really good there, and we were a second or third place car all night long at Richmond. And so I felt like that this car with that setup in it would work well here. We've got a little bit of work to do on race setup. I wasn't completely happy yesterday with it, but you know, we've got 2 hours to get that wired in, and I really believe that this race team is due. And I want to see Tony Gibson and that team's face in victory lane, and I want to be there with them. You know, so I think they could do it, and I think we'll have the car that can do it.
How close is the setup from Phoenix to here? Those are two different racetracks.
We're the same. We're like 200 pounds, maybe more in the right rear right now. And other than that, we're identical. Same front end, front bump stops, springs, geometry, shocks.
Yeah, we've seen some of the cars, like the Gibbs cars, that have struggled just a little bit, at least in qualifying trim here, from what we're used to seeing. And I just wonder if some of the things that they do at other racetracks that work for them just don't quite work here because of this racetrack being different.
I wanted to use my, you know, Phoenix and Richmond setup because I really felt like that would work well here. And we've used that at Pocono and Michigan as well, and Chicago. It didn't work quite as well at those racetracks as it did the flatter ones. We've got just a little bit of work to do in race trim, but I'm confident that this team can get it done.
Terry Labonte, a former two-time champion, out qualifying in the 45 car, normally driven by Kyle Petty. And Terry 36th right now, and of course he is one of two former champions here trying to qualify, and one of these two is going to get in on the champions provisional. The other one standing by was Jamie Little.
And he's certainly watching the monitors, watching the times. Bill, you've been here 14 straight times every Brickyard 400. What is this time like for you?
Well, probably a little bit more nerve-wracking in a way, but you know, the worst part is now I'm fighting to get in the race, where before you're fighting to be on the pole or wherever you end up being as far as practice over. You know, we got to get this Motorcraft Ford Fusion in the race, and you know, hopefully we can do it. I'm sure you guys will be the first to know.
We'll be watching you for sure. Go back to your win, though, real quick. What it was like to win here at Indianapolis.
Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, it was probably one of the greatest wins ever, and especially it came at a key time in my career.
I was back in 2002. We'll let you get going. I know he's focused right now. We'll have to keep an eye on this 21 Ford Doc as he makes his way down pit road.
Awesome, Bill. Yet to go in qualifying. Here is Jason Leffler, one of the 7 drivers who will go back and forth and do a little bit of double duty. Bit of a wiggle there coming out of the corner.
Yeah, we've seen that happen quite a bit here. Back to Bill Elliott a second. I know that he and Terry Labonte are good friends, but he was a huge fan of his right there, hoping that Terry Labonte was going to put down a good lap so that he might have the backup of that past champions provisional. But Terry, I don't believe, got in a lap that's going to allow that. So Bill pretty much knows now he has to go out there and put down a lap if he's going to race with the Wood brothers here tomorrow.
See Jason Leffler's lap. We're comparing that to Patrick Carpentier's lap, which is the fastest of these guys that have to make it on speed.
Mark Martin. Yeah, Mark Martin is our guest here in the pit studio. Mark, we were talking about the luck of the draw and going early where it's cooler versus later in the day, but we've gotten some cloud cover now moving across with this front moving across. How will that impact the racetrack, do you think?
Well, the cloud cover is great. These guys are happy to see that coming, and the more you get of it, the faster you'll go. This racetrack is, as you guys said earlier in the show, is the most sensitive, I think, of any racetrack we go to temperature.
Mark, I know you're giving your crew and talking about them, giving them a lot of credit, but I'd have to say that everybody here realizes that if you're not the best, you're one of the best race drivers that's ever come through this. And I know that you're a very humble person, but making this change to going back to full-time racing, how difficult was that decision? And I'm sure that you talked to Arlene a lot about it too.
It was incredibly difficult because I'm having the time of my life, and I really, would like to not change anything. For me, ultimately, I really, back about 3 months ago, what I wanted to do was the same schedule in the 8 car as I'm doing now. But, really, that wasn't fair to Eric Amarola. He's full-time Cup material, and I had, had obligations to do fewer races, more like 15 in 2009, and I'm having too much fun to do 15 races. I wanted to do more. I certainly was not looking for a full-time schedule, but when Rick started talking to me about doing this deal, I told him, I can't do a full-time schedule, but he kept working it and working it and working it, and he finally got me wanting it, just like selling a good used car. And once he got me wanting to drive that car, there was nothing that was going to stop me. I mean, I want to be teammates with Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson and Dale Jr. and be a part of the Hendrick Motorsports organization in the worst way. And I think any race car driver that had the opportunity to do that would do it. And it's not a long-term, full-time deal. I can look at it as catch my breath the rest of this year. I've had 2 years to really catch my breath, and I get a chance to drive some of the best stuff on the racetrack going forward, and being a part of that organization is actually the biggest honor and compliment that I've ever had in my career. At this stage in the game, to be 50 years old and to be invited into that program is huge for me.
That lap right there by Scott Riggs actually locks his teammate in, Jason Leffler. That's going to put him back there kind of on the bubble, maybe good enough to get in, but does lock his teammate in.
Mark Martin, I'm sure a lot of the diehard Mark Martin fans when they heard that announcement probably were hooping and fist pumping in the air thinking about you coming back. And they probably want me to ask you, so I'm going to. Can you win that championship in 2009?
Jerry, I got to beat Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. in the same equipment, much less everybody else out there. What do you think?
Yeah, well, at least you do. I think that's the good news. Yeah, you do have the same equipment.
That is the good news, Andy. That's right, and it's going to be a blast to be a part of that thing. But my expectations are not really focused on the championship. I want to win a race, and you have to win one to win two. Everybody says, what about more? You can win more than that. I'm not worried about that. If I get one, then we'll start worrying about two. I'd just love to win another race, and I really would like to win a race in the Army car with the 8 bunch. They are due, and they've had frustrations. They really stuck through last year when Dale was leaving, and they kept it together. It's a great race team. It's a race team that can win races, and I would like to experience that with them.
Well, we think you're going to win a race for the years out, and that championship, I think, could be a major factor in 09. Here's Stanton Barrett trying to get his car qualified. Got to Daytona, was running 4th in the qualifying race at the beginning of the year and was caught up in someone else's accident, so trying to get his car qualified here. And you saw the numbers at the top of the show, how important it is for a team like his to get in this race, because it paid $140,000+ just to start a year ago.
Boy, Martin, you see how harsh that car was riding, though. This is going to be tough for Stanton to make the race with that car handling like that.
Yeah, that left front was bouncing up. Something terrible. I don't know. They're missing something there on their bump stops or their shocks or something.
And this is the first car that we've seen try to attempt a second lap. He's still on it so far.
We are being told there are sprinkles of rain in turn 2. We showed you the clouds moving in a moment ago and how the clouds help cool off the racetrack, but the rain doesn't help at all.
If it's light, it really won't hurt anything much, will it?
No, we've tended to keep going during sprinkles in the past, but if it gets heavy, and that's the thing about this racetrack, it can get heavy in one turn and be sun shining on the other one, so the track workers have to keep a really close watch on that for us.
Still 4 cars to go after Stanton Barrett, and he will be 42nd of the 43 cars to go thus far.
Yeah, I think this just is a perfect example of how difficult it is to come into this series, just every once in a while and try to qualify. I mean, I know this is a big race. A lot of people want to be a part of it, but you can't just come in. It shows how good these race teams are, these other ones are, that it makes it difficult for someone like Stanton to come in and try to make a lap.
I'd like to make a comment on that, Dale. You know how hard it is just to drive your best. And for Stanton to not be in these cars all the time, just doing that is a challenge. But even more than that, the race car. The guys that are working on that COT are not guys that run these cars every single week, and that's even a greater challenge than the driving part, I think. But both are tremendous challenges.
Yeah, they're going to go out here and check the racetrack and see if it is raining too hard for these guys to go out and try to lay down a lap. But that last car locked in A.J. Allmendinger and that other Red Bull car.
The procedure would be here again for NASCAR to check the racetrack, and everyone's got to be able to go. I know we're going to have some rain showers in the area. That was the prediction with regard to what happens. Mark, what about this racetrack? I know they're talking about showers later today and tonight. How much would this track change if we do get some rain showers on the asphalt between now and the green flag tomorrow?
I don't think it'd change a whole lot because I really don't think we put that much rubber down yesterday. You know, we just have not run on this racetrack very much. We had, 2 hours of practice yesterday, and that's it. And this racetrack takes a lot of time, takes a lot of rubber to fill in this diamond grinding, which is the greatest thing they could ever do for stock car racing here. Thank goodness for the diamond grinding. But it does take quite a while to get enough rubber in it that it quits, wearing tires. So if it does rain a lot, Andy, I think they'll have to have a caution by lap 15 because we were in the cords at 7 laps yesterday.
I was going to ask you, how worried are you about the tire wear now going in? I know we're going to get a happy hour session. You'll have a lot better gauge on it. But with that tire wear, when you only get 7 or 8 laps, that's got to be a little bit scary.
It is, but it goes, when it does fill in, it's fine. You can run a fuel stop no problem by Sunday if we get 2 more hours this afternoon in race trim, because actually they'll put more laps on in happy hour because a lot of people in qualifying trim yesterday and maybe only ran 5 laps in a whole 1 hour session. Today they'll run 25 laps in a 1 hour session, or 20, 25 each car. So it'll get rubbered in really well today.
Mark, we know you got to go back and get ready for happy hour, which we're going to cover here later today. But congratulations on your qualifying effort right now on the outside of row 1, and good luck tomorrow here in the Brickyard 400.
Well, thank you. I hope I can celebrate it with you guys tomorrow night.
That'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be great.
Mark Martin has a very good record here, folks. He has finished in the top 10 the last 3 in a row, but he says, I want to get this one here for the guys for the Army team and DEI. And folks, you know what? He just might do it. Back with final cars in a moment. Qualifying at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, some clouds had moved across and just a few sprinkles. They have moved away, so we will continue with the NASCAR Sprint Cup pole qualifying. Green flag waving for Marcus Ambrose, driver out of Tasmania, just south of Australia.
He's going to have to beat a 50.79 to lock himself in on this lap. Boy, he got a good run off that corner.
And he did. He was loose, it looked like, but the car stuck, and he really got through and off of turn 1. This is important right here.
Gets off that corner
right
good.
There. So a good run.
Green.
Yeah, this has to be a huge thrill for Marcus to be able to come here and try to make his second start in this series at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
He qualified 7th out at Infineon on the road course. He is an accomplished road racer, actually left Australia and went to be a Formula One test driver for a while in Europe. That's how good he is in a road course.
Hey, guys, this is going to be a good lap right here. Yeah. He's tracking 22nd so far. That's going to lock him in solidly in this field.
Absolutely. What a great lap. Great job.
He does it.
You got some cloud cover here. We had a little delay because of sprinkles. You know, sprinkles are not a good thing when you're out there running, but anything on that racetrack to cool it down is going to be a help as long as it doesn't, upset the track too much and make it slick.
24th overall for Marcus Ambrose and the Tad Geschecter Brad Doherty team. They're Ford, Roush Yates horsepower.
That was only his 3rd lap on the racetrack at speed. Wow. He said he'd only made 2 laps before that. That's incredible.
Just imagine how good he's going to be when he gets 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Brad Doherty's already working magic. Already, here he is. It's the first time that he's been a car owner, and they're getting their car in the Brickyard 400.
Tony Raines, next car to go out. Another one of the native Hoosiers, LaPorte, Indiana, in the 34 car.
Once again, one of these teams that, they've been around more than like a Stanton Barrett, but just makes it so difficult to come in here, big race like this where everybody has their very best equipment. They haven't been racing that much. Tony is a really good race driver. I would like to see him get an opportunity and some really good equipment to show everyone what he can do. But this is the most difficult situation he's probably been in quite a while.
Okay, we're still looking at Scott Riggs as being the next one to lock in if Tony doesn't beat Scott. That's why we're tracking his lap against Riggs.
Car is owned by Bob Jenkins out of Dandridge, Tennessee. Tony attempting to make his 119th career start in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
He's got some work to do if he's going to get in this race.
Again, these are the cars that have to get in on time and speed. There's 12 of them. 8 will make it in, 4 will not.
Stanton Barrett's already been bumped from the field.
And you really see these cars, a lot of these guys, the cars have a different attitude. And that means, I think Elliott Sadler in here telling us about the new generation car that they have. It's just everything that they find, they're able to implement that. And this is probably a car these guys have had all year long in trying to make it work here.
This learning curve is so steep with this new car. These guys are learning something every week, every practice session. They're learning something about this car. And for these teams that are lower funded, don't have the resources, that really hurts you when these guys are learning so much in such a short amount of time.
We are going to learn something about the NASCAR Nationwide Series because those guys are going to be practicing after us coming up next over at at the O'Reilly Raceway Park. How about some IndyCar action, the Rexall Edmonton Indy? Today, 5 o'clock Eastern Time, Bob Jenkins will have the call. NHRA Fram Autolite Nationals qualifying tonight at 6 Eastern Time. And, of course, live flag-to-flag coverage, ORP Nationwide action tonight, 7:30 Eastern Time. NASCAR Now will kick off the coverage tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. And, of course, NASCAR Countdown. Brad Daugherty, Alan Bestwick and company. And then our coverage of the 15th running of the Allstate 400 at the Brickyard, 1 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow on ESPN. We welcome our next guest, Kurt Busch, a driver for Roger Penske. And Kurt, thanks for coming over and visiting with us a little bit.
Absolutely. Good to see you guys.
A good qualifying effort here.
I liked it. I liked the way that the car handled. A little bit tight here, a little bit loose there. But when I came off 4 with my foot on the floor, I was like, well, that's not going to be that bad of a lap. And so we ended up top 10 so far. We're hoping to hang on to that.
How big would it be for you? And I saw some quotes. The captain has won here 14 times in the Indianapolis 500, but has never won in a stock car here at this racetrack. How big would it be for you to be able to give him that victory?
Well, I always hope to pocket some of that 14 race wins that he has here on the IndyCar side and the IRL. And with the stock cars, we hope that it's right around the corner. We got Daytona earlier this year with a great teamwork effort. And we just hope that we do the best we can with our Miller Lite Dodge during this next practice session to give us those key things that we need for Sunday's race.
We talked with Brian Vickers a little while ago, and he was talking about how he had to change his driving style with these cars here at this racetrack. Have you found that to be true also?
I did. Right at the end of last practice yesterday, my last set of qualifying tires, I'm going to really go out here and lay a lap. So I drove down in there way over my head, on the brakes hard. Next thing I know, I'm 2 grooves up. And I tried it again in the next corner like something was wrong, still overdriving the car. You cannot overdrive these race cars. And so it's tough. You got to find that balance of laying down a good lap and getting the speed out of it, but not overdriving it. Very sensitive race cars.
We just had Mark Martin sitting in here, and he was talking about his car. He's running the same setup that he ran at Phoenix and only some flat racetracks. Are you running a setup similar to what you run on these flat tracks? I mean, you won at New Hampshire.
We did have a great run at New Hampshire, but the setup seems to be completely different. We learn more week to week than we do from a racetrack that might be more similar to another racetrack, because it seems like we're just right now behind the curve. And so if we go and test next week in preparation for the next race, we're going to learn more that week. So a lot of work to do. We're behind the 8 ball, but we're plugging hard and trying to get that horsepower better and getting everything that we need better so that we can get more victories for Roger this year.
Big picture for Roger Penske. We talked at the beginning of our telecast that Ryan Newman will be leaving a team, and we'll take a break and come back and ask Kurt Busch who he thinks will be the driver in the other car and how much input he'll actually have in who they pick to drive the 12 car. Back with more from Indianapolis in a moment. Qualifying continued in Indianapolis. On the racetrack here is the 21 car, Awesome Bill Elliott, out of Dawsonville, Georgia, 16-time most popular driver. And he talked about the nerves of just trying to get this car in the show.
Yeah, he had that thing hung out coming off turn 4 the first time. So you know that Bill's going to be up on the wheel. He knows he has to put down a lap here. And it's very important, not only for Bill Elliott, but for the Wood brothers.
Whoa, baby, she's loose. And this guy knows how to get around this racetrack. He's won here before.
See him get a little bit wide there, though. I think that's going to hurt his straightaway speed down the backstretch. Now, once again, he's compared to Joe Nemechek here, and that's the time that he has to beat to get himself into the race.
Nemechek is currently 36th.
He would have a champion's provisional, but the provisional goes to the most recent champion, and that would be Terry Labonte. Again, 4 cars will not make it. Those that have already not qualified are Tony Raines and the 50 of Stanton Barrett.
This isn't going to be a good enough lap to lock him in right at this point in time. Matter of fact, he's just behind Terry Labonte.
It's really going to depend on what J.J. Yaley does, the last car to go.
So the 08 is out. Johnny Sauter, he will not make it.
Bill decides just to shut it down now. We haven't seen anybody, I've only seen one other car run 2 laps, and nobody has run faster on the second lap.
J.J. Yaley getting ready to go. Let's visit again with Kurt Busch. And Kurt, going to commercial, we told you we're going to ask you about the situation with the 12 car. First of all, how much input do you have, or would you have, with Roger as to who he selects as your teammate for next year?
Well, Roger and Walter Zarnicki and Tim Cindric asked me to step up and say, hey, you're the lead guy now. We're going to really use you for your information here around the stock car world. And I'm going to accept the role, but yet we still have to do this as a team. You can't find a guy and just plug him in right away. So we're looking short term, we're looking long term. I think a guy with veteran type skills would be a good fit. At the same time, I think a young driver, maybe plucking somebody out of the Busch series that's shown potential, Nationwide series has shown potential, would be the right candidate. So we're going to look in all areas, and the good thing is it's still July. We still have plenty of time to find the right driver.
Final car to qualify, and this is very important for a number of drivers here. J.J. Yaley in the 96 car, 47th and final car to go.
Comparing his lap to Terry Labonte, he's in the green so far to Terry's lap. He's got about a 1/10.5 separation. Losing a little bit getting into turn 3.
The car that he would knock out would be the 21 of the Wood brothers of Bill Elliott.
It's going to be close right here, guys.
If he doesn't, nail biter here.
Yeah, if he doesn't beat Terry Labonte, then Bill Elliott's going to get in also. So this is literally driving your way in, and it looks like he's going to do it.
He just does it. Good news for J.J. Yaley.
Yeah.
Bad news for Bill Elliott.
Yeah, clocks in 39th quickest.
And Bill Elliott will not make it in the 21 car. So the 4 cars that will not qualify are Bill Elliott, Johnny Sauter in the 08, the 34 of Tony Raines, and the 50 of Stanton Barrett. Qualifying is complete, and Jimmy Johnson on the pole for the 15th running of the Allstate 400 at the Brickyard, the race he won here in 2006, and maybe a little bit of justice considering how all the abysmal things that happened to him in this race a year ago.
I think this is going to be a turning point for Jimmy Johnson. That team has really turned the corner the last few weeks, and they came in here with a ton of confidence on the pole. Just a great job of those guys.
Absolutely. They're scary fast again. You know, they had been struggling a little bit during some of the middle May and June, but now they're back on their game, it seems like. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, while we have you here, we know that Ryan Newman stated that one of the things he was looking at in making a move was that the competitive side of it. I know that you're there for a while. Do you see that getting better at this point? Now, I know you have a lot of good people there, but are you looking to hire more? Is that exactly what you're trying to do?
Absolutely. Roger knows that there is a problem with a driver leaving, such as Ryan Newman. That type of status really is an eye-opener. It makes you think that, wow, we really do have to look at things a bit more closely, hire some more people in, and put different people in charge in different positions. And so this is going to be a good wake-up call to revamp our system. I'm here for the long haul. I told Roger I'm here to work on this. And so sometimes when you're at the top, it's easy to get knocked back to the basement. So now we're going to try to crawl our way back up to the top. But hey, we're still winning races. That's the best part is Newman won Daytona. We won at Loudon. And so we've got some good things to talk about to our great sponsors like Miller Lite and Dodge and everybody that's part of our team. But now we know we've got some work cut out for us, and we need to get a good quality driver in there to help us do it.
At the top in qualifying today, Jimmy Johnson, and he's standing by with Mike.
And Doc, believe it or not, when Jimmy Johnson got out of his race car after his qualifying lap, you said you made some mistakes. How were you able to make up for them?
I had a great race car. I was a little unhappy with myself after my qualifying lap and sat in the front of the truck pretty nervous, knowing that Mark was coming, some other good cars, 24. you know, I got through one so well. I went into two and went to my normal mark. The car got tight and missed two, and you have such a long straightaway. I thought I was going to pay for it and really be behind, but got through three well, got a little loose down there, but nailed four and brought it back. This is really one of the most demanding tracks we run on to get all four corners right. 1 and 3 look similar, 2 and 4 look similar, but they drive much different, and it's tough to get a clean lap.
And it would seem, looking at the statistics, that race setup and qualifying trim, completely different things. Only one pole winner has gone on to win the race. Why do you think that is?
Thanks for the good news. I appreciate
I'm always there to break the good news.
You know, I feel really good about things. The last month, 2 months, we've been coming on strong, and really all the hard work that the Slows team has been putting in has been paying off. So as long as I'm not on fire and wrecked, I'm going to be very happy with the results, and I think we'll be a threat Sunday afternoon with the Slows and Paula.
And Doc, Jimmy Johnson picks up his 15th career pole.
He won it here in 2006, and remember the omen here of winning this race and going on and becoming a champion. Qualifying concluded, top of the charts there. Jimmy Johnson on the pole. The Army car for Mark Martin on the outside front row, and then a couple of Dodges. Ryan Newman, Casey Kane, Jeff Gordon is 5th, Elliott Sadler, Kurt Busch, McMurray, Edwards, and Kenseth, the top 10. Back in a moment. 7 races are left in the race to the chase. Jeff Gordon trying to win for the 5th time at the Brickyard. Folks, he starts 5th. Could that be an omen? Kevin Harvick, the only driver ever to win from the pole. Jimmy Johnson would like to be the second one to do it. He will lead him down. Our coverage 1 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. The Allstate 400 at the Brickyard. For a preview of things at ORP, let's go to Marty Reed.
All right, thanks, Jerry. Over here at O'Reilly Raceway Park, final practice has just concluded, and it was Colin Brown taking the top spot as you get a look at this 5/8 mile oval. For the 27th year, we'll be hosting the Nationwide Series tonight at 7:30. Joey Logano was second in this final practice and the only Toyota driver in the top 10. And the reason we mention that, of course, as we bring in Randy LaJoie, is the new tapered spacer rule affecting the Toyotas.
Yeah, it took about 15 horsepower off the Toyotas. They might have helped them later in this evening. We'll have to find out later on.
Because you think about wheel spin.
Absolutely. Wheel spin is going to be limited. Mike Wallace is 18th in practice. He's sitting here. He's like, okay, where can I find that 15 horsepower? I need it. I'm 18th.
Well, Colin Brown was a surprise for us as far as taking the top spot in the Ford at 22.98 seconds. There he is. One of the biggest surprises at the other end, Brad Keselowski, we can tell you, was 31st on the speed chart. So they have got some work to do in that 88 car. David Reagan, of course, doing double duty as he's one of the guys, and that's
the fastest he's run all day.
Nah, that's not true. At the end, at 9th on the speed charts, but he was about 27th for most of it till he did his qualifying sim. So, Jerry, as we send it back your way, we'll see it tonight at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN.
Marty, well, a year ago at ORP, we saw a breakthrough winner with Jason Leffler picking up the win. And now with the Toyotas being trimmed back by some 15 horsepower with the tapered spacer new rule, who are some of the guys that could break through tonight?
Well, I think based on what we're seeing, Doc, I mean, Colin Brown looks good. Remember, the 16 car last year with Greg Biffle ran very strong here throughout the entire race. Don't count these Toyotas out because, as Randy pointed out, the wheel spin factor is not as bad here. I mean, this horsepower is not going to kill them like it is on the bigger tracks and the road course like we go to in Montreal.
We're going to notice a lot more in Montreal and the bigger racetracks. This racetrack here, it's pretty much a wash. You need it when you have sticker tires, but you don't have that but twice tonight.
I'll tell you what, Jerry, here's the thing to watch for. Last 6 years, the winners come from the top 10 in qualifying. So you'll see who may have the best shot once we get qualifying finished over here at ORP.
Marty, Randy, thank you very much. We'll look forward to your coverage coming up here momentarily over at O'Reilly Raceway Park, folks, just across town from here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're talking about double-duty drivers, continuing our story. How about Marcus Ambrose qualifying for his second ever NASCAR Sprint Cup start? Jamie.
Well, Doc, this is the first Cup race for Tad and Jody Geschechter. They've been in the Nationwide Series for 14 years. They finally made their first Cup race with Marcos. Marcos, growing up in Australia, though, what does it mean for you to qualify here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
This is about the most famous racetrack we got. And I just want to thank Tad and Jody for plucking me out of Australia and giving me a chance here at NASCAR. And here we are. I mean, it's a pretty special moment for me to make the Brickyard. And, you know, we've done it hard, too, this weekend. We blew a motor in practice. And I just feel like I'm over the moon right now. It's just a great feeling.
Well, a lot on your plate, obviously, double duty. You have to go over to ORP later, qualify and run that race. How do you keep them separate and keep it all together?
Well, we're lucky because we share the sponsorships. Kingsford and Clorox are coming on board with us for 2009, part of this whole NASCAR Cup program for us. We've got the McKee family with little Debbie supporting us too, so it's pretty easy. I can wear the same race suit. I've just got to switch my head between different styles of race car. But this COT today really felt like a race car to me. I got to thank Frankie Kerr, our crew chief. He's been a miracle for us, and it's just been great.
And he said it's the best handling stock car he's been in all year. Shannon?
Well, Jamie, down here with Patrick Carpentier, another solid qualifying effort from this team. We were just discussing a little bit, how difficult is it for you to go back and forth between really wanting to qualify in the top 10 and knowing that you have to make it in the field?
Yeah, I'm very happy with where we qualified today, 15. But I know I lost some time down turn 1. You know, it's a choice between making the race and being up the front. You know, so we lost a little bit of time. I think I lost like a tenth or a tenth and a half, but I didn't hit the wall and we're in the race, so I'm very happy. I mean, we got great cars. Gillette Evernham's given us such good cars. Those new cars that they came up with are very fast, so I'm really happy. I think we got a good race car. We're gonna have fun on Sunday, and it's getting a little bit better every weekend in the race, so we should be good.
Well, you guys can breathe a little bit right now, but now we have practice. So what are you guys gonna work on in this practice to now get this car ready for the race?
Yeah, now we're happy the Series Auto Center car is in the race, and we're gonna practice the race setup. And what's good here is that we got a lot of practice time. So for me, the more practice time we can get, the better it is all the time. So we're going to be able to finally practice the race setups. We did it yesterday and really get ready for that race, and hopefully bring the Valvoline car in the top 15, top 20. So we'll see how it goes. But I think I like it. I like this track. I like driving these cars, so it should be fun.
Oh, and next week is Montreal for Patrick Carpentier. He's going to be home. Doc.
Shannon, this driver is focusing on 400 miles tomorrow. How about some guys that are focusing on 600 miles? 200 tonight and 400 tomorrow. Double duty drivers, 7 of them. You heard from Marcus Ambrose, Clint Boyer, we see David Reagan, Kyle Busch, David Ruderman, and of course Carl Edwards there. Now, Kurt Busch, your brother Kyle doing a lot of that this year. How difficult is that to do what he's doing? I mean, not only run in the Nationwide Series and Cup, but also run a lot in the NASCAR Truck Series.
I can't believe he's just racing that much. And you can see the excitement in him when he shows up at the racetrack. And he's really devoted and really committed to what he's doing, whether it's the truck program, Nationwide. Of course, his Cup program is on top of the world right now, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy to see him win races and do well in all the different series. And each one has its own discipline. Each one has its own practice time. Each one has its own crew chief. So he has to manage many different programs, and I'm happy to see him doing well with that.
We've seen brothers be successful in this before. Do y'all share a lot of information and talk about driving race cars and maybe what you have in your race cars to set up?
You know, we never really shared numbers in the beginning. We just shared different feelings around the racetrack as far as looseness here, or you're going to be tight in this corner. But I think I now need to start to revisit that, because I showed them the way to get up to here. Hey, maybe some of these numbers can come back my way eventually. But now it's something where we always try to keep numbers separate at the dinner table, whether it's a holiday or whatnot. And it's fun to have that relationship. It's a teammate you can count on. But at the same time, I want to go bury him in the ground because he's my little brother. So it's a great relationship.
Kurt Busch, our guest here, driving for Roger Penske, and Kurt, a great qualifying effort, 7th overall. Happy hour. What kind of agenda are you guys going to be looking at here for this final session this afternoon?
Well, we've still got to be aware of the tire wear issue. We can't go out there and run too many laps like we did at Daytona. That was my fault. We ended up with a tire that blew out there. So we'll be cautious of that. We'll work our way up to making a longer run. That's going to be the focus, is making sure we don't abuse that right front tire. But at Indy, I just love this place, right? You look beyond this window, it looks like an amusement park. It's the excitement and the thrill of being at Indy. You got to show up in person to absorb this and see it, and I know that's why our sponsors and why Roger loves this place.
You know, Roger Penske talks about the fact when he comes here, 14 Indy 500 wins, 14 poles, and obviously I got to believe that if you guys could get close. I mean, Roger, there's something about him when he's standing on the pit wall. I've interviewed him time and time again at the Indy 500. When he stands here and looks around, it's almost like, he was born here. and this place means so much to him. I just can't imagine what it would be like. How much communication does he get involved with on the radio? I know occasionally you'll hear him chime in and say something to one of you guys. What does he say?
Well, at the Indy races, he stands on the pit box and actually makes the call from pit road as a crew chief would. In the stock cars, he goes up on top of the spotters tower to get the view from above, lets the crew chiefs and everybody handle their positions. But he'll chime in every now and then, hey, float her in. You're driving her in too deep. Or, hey, this is this guy pitting now. He's short pitting. Maybe you want to think about that. So he comes in with great information. But you're right. When he walks around here, I asked one day to come up here before the Coke 600 to get away from all my engagements, sponsors, and the hospitalities. I said, I just want to go see Roger and his teams here at Indy, see the garage area the morning of the 500. And when I followed him around, I was just this little guy like carrying his cape because he felt like the Pope to me. It was amazing the way that he could walk around and see the people, say hello, and he shakes people's hands remembering their names because he's been coming here for over 60 years. It's amazing.
Yeah, he is absolutely amazing in this place. And talking about other guys who've had success in open wheel, let's visit with A.J. Allmendinger.
Hey, down here with A.J. Allmendinger, another driver who had to qualify on time. Now, you have a new addition to your team, Jimmy Elledge. You're now working with him for the second race. How has he improved things since he's come over the last 2 weeks?
Oh, it's been great. I mean, just the experience level that he's bringing. It's just we're making smaller changes, and it's just, you know, I think the team's flowing pretty good. So Chicago was a big deal for us, just kind of jump in together with basically a day of talking, and we had a good run. So would like to have qualified a little bit better here. I was a little bit conservative just to get in the show, but heck, it's Indy, so it'll be pretty cool tomorrow when we get on the grid.
All right, congratulations, A.J. Allmendinger in the show. Doc.
And we congratulate Jimmy Johnson. He is the pole sitter for the 15th running of the Allstate 400 at the Brickyard. Mark Martin outside row one. How cool is that going to be to see Mark Martin and Jimmy Johnson sailing into turn one? Good run for the Dodges there. A lot of Dodges in the top 10.
Yeah, not only that, but you saw Matt Kenseth in 10th, and they said he was very good in race trim, so that should be interesting as we see Dale Jr. there in 11th spot.
Yeah, you see Bobby Labonte, a former winner, starting back there. Got a little work to do yet. Denny Hamlin.
Clint Boyer, who has struggled here. He's the Nationwide Series points leader back in 20th position. They've really been having a tough time finding a handle on the car. And former two-time NASCAR Sprint Cup champion Terry Labonte starting 43rd. We thank our guest, Kurt Busch. Kurt, thanks for coming by and being a part of our show.
No problem at all. Thanks, gentlemen.
And we wish him well in happy hour and in the running of the Brickyard 400 on Sunday. Coming up next, ESPN2 coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series final practice over at O'Reilly Raceway Park. Remember, we'll be back here at 2 o'clock Eastern time for Sprint Cup happy hour. Nationwide qualifying later today at 4:30, then live flag-to-flag action at 7:30 Eastern time tonight. And, of course, 1 o'clock tomorrow, the Allstate 400 at the Brickyard. Once again, congratulations to Jimmy Johnson as the pole sitter for the 15th running of the Allstate 400. So long, everyone, from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.